Major championship week, and we've got a major show today. It's all brought to you by Chevy Equinox EV. Athletic, bold, commanding of its distance you're looking for. Equinox EV offers 319 miles of EPA estimated electric range with front-wheel drive. I talked to Ben Griffin about getting more distance, actually. So Ben Griffin's on the show for the second half, coming fresh off a practice round at Oakmont, playing fantastic golf. And then we, myself, Trent, and Beef, are here in Pittsburgh. We debate what we want to see out of the U.S. Open, what we're expecting out of the U.S. Open, and really there's quite a bit to talk about, gentlemen.
Yeah, a lot of Oakmont talk, a spirited discussion, I would say, about what kind of results we want from the U.S. Open this week at Oakmont. I talk about my weekend in Maine. We talk a little bit about Rory. It's a packed show.
First time BT Crosses are at the tour event.
That's right.
At a major.
At a major,
Open.
yeah.
At a major.
Big week.
First time ever at a major. Let's go, Al. Let's go, Al. Leave the driving to Equinox EV and show up to the course energized with available Super Cruise, hands-free driver assistance technology. Equinox EV, they've got this massive 17-inch diagonal center screen, the largest of any EV in its class. It really is impressive. We've seen it in a ton of different vehicles, including the Equinox EV. When it comes to EVs, folks, Equinox EV is the smartest choice you can make.
It's a brand play, you know.
I guess.
And you're the only guy rocking aviators winning golf tournaments out there on tour.
Yep. Tiger's got red, Ricky's got orange, I've got aviators. I mean, this is where we're at.
Foreplay, presented by Barstool Sports. It is United States Open week, and we are live from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. We're at Longview. Is it Golf Club? Golf Club. This place is unbelievable. It's got all kinds of history. We're in this clubhouse that feels like it's been here since, before the Mayflower got here.
Yeah, this is one of those, it's right up my alley. We've talked about different clubhouses, different feel, and I like the old school feel. I love the feel of Oakmont when we were there about a month ago.
How about the locker room here?
The locker room's great. It feels like a couple of the places we went to when we were in Scotland. That's the feel. Creaky stairs is a big one for me. We were walking upstairs to the men's locker room, and there was a creak to it. I love that. All due respect to the Liberty Nationals and all those of the world, but I'm more of an Aaron Hills, Oakmont, Longview guy.
Yeah, I mean, this was 1923, it looked like on their website. It's perched right here on the river, so this place aesthetically is fantastic.
Yeah, really, really cool. I can't wait to see the actual golf course.
Yeah.
This is one, I know this, Taylor Ray, who works on our events team and sets a lot of these up, does all the legwork, crushes it. He was saying he kind of just reached out to them through social because you see, he's like, had seen pictures of it and whatnot. And I'll have to comb through and look at some of the other courses, but in the Pittsburgh area, there's like a handful of courses that have that sort of old school, the architecture aficionados love it. And this is one of them. This is like Fox Chapel, Longview, Oakmont. There's a couple others that are up there. Latrobe, I believe that's where Arnie's from.
Yeah.
And I think they got a really cool one there that's historic and whatnot. So anyways, excited to see the golf course, but we are here for the Steel City Scramble that we're going to be kicking off throughout the day today. Great show. We got Ben Griffin on the podcast. He's won twice in the last couple months, including team win, his first individual win, and then he followed that up with a second-place finish at the Memorial just a week ago, where he played in the final group with Scottie Scheffler, and then he went from the Memorial to last Monday, played Oakmont, played a little practice round, a nice squeaky got out of your cup there.
I know. I was hoping that wouldn't send anybody into a tizzy.
Dude,
you do that enough, that'll some people, that's nails on a chalkboard.
Yesterday in the flight, I felt so bad. The guy next to me, his seat, whenever he would go to recline, just had like the loudest squeak for every millimeter that he reclined.
Yeah.
And he would do it and then kind of look over and be like, and then do it again. And I was like, I think you just got to rip the Band-Aid off. So he did. But then every time he'd get up to go to the bathroom, he would do. So then we're about halfway through the flight, and I decided to recline for the first time. And did the
same thing.
And he just looked over at me, and we were both just like, God, we're deep in it right now.
I think there's a real chance on planes nowadays you could scream, and 98% of the people aren't going to hear you because of headphones. Yes. I think about that too sometimes, like if I'm coughing loudly or if I accidentally, my phone goes off and I didn't mean it to.
The sniffles, you get the sniffles
Yeah,
sometimes.
no, I think if you look around, everybody is in their own world. You can do whatever you want.
Sort of like New York City a little bit.
Very much
You
so.
can get away with anything. I mean, people are screaming in New York. People are dressed crazy, whatever.
You're in your own tunnel.
People don't even look at you.
Nope.
Yeah, it is kind of like that on a flight. But Ben Griffin came to Oakmont the day after the Memorial, so a week ago, played it, and then I interviewed him late last week for about 45 minutes. He is great. He's a phenomenal interview. He's a very thoughtful person. He's mortgage lending at Lord Abbott for a while, so he's got some good life experience. We talked a little business at one point. He's got a little side hustle he was getting into.
We had him on the live show
He
back in
mentioned
the
that
beginning of the
during
year.
live
Yeah.
show that he had a side hustle.
Yeah. Oh yeah, he brought it up. He's like optimizing short-term rentals, and we were getting into that because
Those,
obviously,
by the way, that's a bunch of fake words right there. That's how you get you like cold call old people and you say you want to invest in this small rental optimization, and they're like, yeah, here's my entire bank account.
You calling Ben Griffin a little pyramid scheme guy?
No, I think he should probably just. I mean, he's doing so well with the golf stuff. Like that's the real business right there. Like,
Yeah, that's a good business.
What do you clear second place at the Memorial? Probably
$1
over $1 million.
Yeah, probably over $1 million for sure.
Yeah.
But as a guy that does own a short-term rental,
True.
in Pinehurst, I was like, give it to me,
Talk to me.
feed me. What do I need to know?
True.
Here?
I don't. So I'm really bitter, is what I am.
Yeah,
So is Ben Griffin now your property manager?
Well, I might have to reach back out to him. He's a little busy this
He
week.
might be doing a little business here.
We did a good 20 minutes, maybe 25 minutes, just on Oakmont, and he went through what it's going to take, strategy, mindset, what he expects. He talked about winning score, which I know we're going to get into here. We put that clip out, which is doing very well because everybody wants kind of carnage. He talked about his kind of streak this year. When we chatted with him at the Phoenix Open, he didn't play in the Masters this year.
Right.
Like when we saw him at WM, he was Ben Griffin, but he was sort of like finishing 47th and that sort of. And again, since then he has gone on an absolute tear, playing phenomenal golf. He's maybe he's probably a top 5 hottest player in the world of golf right now. And he went toe to toe with Scottie at the Memorial. We got into that, what it was like being inside the ropes, paired up with him, and then a ton of U.S. Open talk, which is very relevant this week. So that's going to be the second half of the show with Ben Griffin. Other things we got to get into is we got a new Father's Day edition of Breaking 85.
Yes. So that's out now if you're listening. It came out on Monday. Me, my dad, and Beef, we went and played TBC Deer Run, home of the John Deere Classic.
Midwestern guy, Beef.
Fifth major. That's what I want, because Frankie's on baby duty.
Mm-hmm.
And he's
As
not
he should be.
No, of course. He's not traveling as much right now. So I was like, all right, I want to go play TBC Deer Run. I want to do Breaking 85. I want my dad to be there, and I want Beef to be there. And I just want it to be a whole Midwest day. We went to Portillo's before.
Yeah.
My mom was there just hanging around. She gave me cookies. It was a very wholesome Midwest golf day.
Joy, is that your mom's name?
Joy is my mom's
Joy
name.
and Gary
is
Ryan?
Joy and Gary.
Mhm.
They made the drive to the Quad Cities, which is about an hour and 15 minutes from Cedar Rapids.
Not bad.
They were at the casino the night before, did the whole thing. They had a great
My
time.
mom loves the casino, too.
Oh yeah, they made a trip out of it. They were they were tired, so they were like, yeah, we're gonna go the night before. We hit the casino, and when we got there, it was very Midwest. Beef and I
Big hugs, like very Midwest. Bring it in. We're all
huge
part
hugs,
of the family.
but also him and I drove. Beef and I drove from Indianapolis because there was a classic.
Yeah.
And as soon as we got into town, into East Moline, a tornado warning went off, and our phones went off, and the sirens were going off. The whole thing was
Incredible.
the whole thing was very Midwest. So, long story short, TBC Deer Run, me, my dad, Beef, Breaking 85. It was a really fun day.
Awesome. So, that's up. That's our latest video that we've put out. So make sure you go check that out. Merchandise, Father's Day, 4th of July, USA. It's U.S. Open week. If you saw late last week, we dropped kind of our latest with a bunch of different designs, T-shirts, cool. Like, there's the dogs at the turn. There's the star-spangled
Shootout.
shootout,
My favorite one.
which I wore to play Goat Hill Park on Friday, and people were like, "What's that event?" A couple guys asked, "What's that event?" And I was like, "It's just like something we made up."
It did.
And they're
make
like,
me
"That
think
is awesome."
We should host one in like DC or something of the sports. It's such
Have
a
to.
good name.
Great name.
But it's all the shirts are great. A bunch of new designs. There's a great American flag golf club hat that people really like.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, 4th of July is coming. Summer's coming. Dogs at the turn. The whole deal.
I love when we do merch drops, especially with a hat like the big American flag hat, which is awesome, by the way.
It is.
And just seeing the internet in real time where you scroll through, I saw like 7 comments in a row that were like, "This hat's unbelievable." And then I saw a quote tweet right under that was like, "This is single-handedly the worst piece of merchandise I've ever seen created by anyone." And I was like, that is just,
That's the internet.
that's beautiful.
Haters are going to hate, right?
It's
Haters are
beautiful,
gonna
and it's like fashion too, right? Like there's some people could wear that I would be like, that is preposterous.
Yeah.
And then someone right next to me would be like, that's the coolest thing I've ever seen.
That guy hates America. That's unfortunate.
It's unfortunate. Hate to see that.
You do.
And then the latest hater episode is out as well. I just wanted to quickly comment on that the funniest part about whenever we put out the hater videos are, and this was predictable before, but what my DMs now turn into.
Oh, yeah.
Because everybody just wants to get on the show.
course.
And so I just a PSA out there that I can see your history of messages. And if you've been hating upon me for a long time, fine, continue.
Yep.
But if you just start to spike and pick that up for the first time right after a hater video airs, you're pretty exposed. Like, we can see what you're doing.
Bandwagon hater.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
And other people got you beat by 5, 6, 7 years
Right.
that are already in the pipelines.
Yeah.
Respect the hell out of that.
Yeah.
I know
Yeah.
Committed to the game.
I know a new hater comes out, and I know that's doing well because that video is doing really well. I'll get DMs, and I get a lot of these, and they're, it's all the same idea. They say, Riggs has got a hater series. You should do like a lover series where you bring somebody out, and we just have a really good day. I've noticed a really big uptick in those, so I know that video is doing well of yours.
Dude, and it is I see a ton of those as well. That's like, hey man, you're flying these haters out, putting them up in a hotel, and you're getting a really nice course and playing around against them, and that's rewarding them for hating you. We love you guys. Is there any way you do anything like that for the people that are big fans? A fair point. However, the content would just kind of stink.
I know. There's no conflict is not very entertaining.
There's not a ton of movies and great storytelling over history that have been done around zero conflict.
Right, watch your local news and how many news stories are.
Just
Look at the local charity. They're donating. It's all
look at this family having a barbecue where they all get along.
Right.
How
It's
great
all
is
there's
that?
a 40% uptick in crime recently. It's like
Right.
all right. That's how the stories go.
Yeah, so that's on our radar, and there's stuff we're gonna work on trying to at least whet that appetite a little bit, because that's fair. It's a very fair point.
Go watch me and my dad play golf.
That's
pretty much it.
and
That's
beef out there, positive attitudes.
That's
Definitely-
really
it's
as
definitely
good-
a lovers match.
That's
You
as
guys love each
close
other.
as we're gonna get to a
Yeah.
lovers match.
Speaking of another lovers thing, I got a comment on the how about you at the Chicks in the Office show, and the FaceTime was just an all-time moment.
Yeah. So I'm coming. We're in Pittsburgh now, but I flew from Boston yesterday. This weekend I was in Maine for the Chicks in the Office live show. So I love doing those. I'm not in New York anymore, so I do that podcast less and less, which is really unfortunate because I love doing it. But they still do ask me to go to these live shows and be a guest, which is very nice, and I'm always happy to do it. And this one happened to be in Maine, and I was
These are the shows where women throw their bras and panties at Trent Ryan.
in that world, I am the luggage guy, where
Right.
I was on The Bachelor and I pulled the luggage, and that was a few years ago now. And this one was in Maine, and I was sort of like, I haven't been watching The Bachelor as much, so I didn't have any strong opinions on that. And I was like, I got to bring something to this show, because otherwise I'm just going to go up there and sit there, and they're going to be like, what's new? And I'm going to say, I got nothing. I
Literally
got
nothing.
But I know, we've gotten friendly with our guy, a superstar, Noah KAHN, and he's a big New England guy. He's got a song called Maine. So I was like, maybe I can FaceTime him. So earlier in the day, I texted him and was like, hey, man, if you're around, I would love to FaceTime you. I'm going to be at this live show in Maine. If you're busy, no worries. It was a Saturday night.
Mm-hmm.
Or if you just don't want to do it, you can tell me that, and that's totally fine. He was like, dude, I'll absolutely do it. What time you want to do it? I was like, I'll be on stage 8:30, 8:45, 9 p.m. And he was like, perfect, I'll be around. So we played it off like it was a spontaneous call because we thought that would be better. So they brought up Noah KAHN being like, oh, we're in, Noah KAHN country. The crowd's going crazy. And I was like, let's FaceTime him. And I was nervous. The one thing I was nervous about was the service up there was really bad.
Ooh.
We were in Ogunquit, Maine.
That's not real.
Look that up on a
Ogunquit,
map.
Maine.
We stayed in Portsmouth. Then you got to drive 40 minutes north into Maine, and you'll be in Ogunquit. And the service was horrible the whole time before the show. Whatever. Connected to the theater Wi-Fi. FaceTimed him. He picked up. Place went crazy. We had a little back and forth. He was very funny. The crowd loved it, and yeah, it was a big moment. It was shout out to him, man. Noah KAHN, legitimately one of the biggest movie stars on planet Earth right now, and he's just hanging around on a Saturday, and I can FaceTime him, and he picks up, entertains the crowd, and he was very cool about it. So yeah, it was a great night, and he's an awesome guy.
You guys have played golf with him and spent time with him. I know, he's kind of whatever. I guess he pays attention to kind of what we do. So I follow him, DM'd him once or twice, but I've never really spent any time with him. He seems like the most humble dude and normal dude for how big he is in the world.
I feel like we say that about pretty much everybody we meet now, but for him, it's particularly true. And his story with us, very quickly, is he DM'd me a couple years ago because he had just gotten he's getting into golf, and he was like, dude, I love breaking 100. I love breaking 90. And he was just like, I'm a huge fan of the videos because I had followed him because I had been getting into his music. there's people who have been into Noah Khan before he blew up. He blew up, and he'll tell you this. Like it happened really fast. Like TikTok helped, Stick Season blew up, and all of a sudden, I mean, the first time I met him, and we had gone back and forth, but he gave me tickets to a show at Madison Square Garden. He sold out MSG 2 nights in a row, and like a couple years ago, it wasn't that way. So, but yeah, so him and I, we kept a relationship. When I was living in New York City at the time, when there was a show at Madison Square Garden, I went, met him, we played golf a couple weeks later, like blah blah blah. So he loves us and the podcast and the videos, and I love his music. I listen to him every single day. I was listening to him this morning. So the fact that I'm on a level with him where I can FaceTime him at a Chicks in the Office live show it's stunning, but he's super cool.
He's an ideal for car ride, planes, even on the golf course. Just throw on like Noah Khan radio or something on Spotify, and it's going to be a winner after winner after winner. You don't have to like moderate the playlist at all.
100%.
His
music is so damn good. So
good.
If people aren't into him,
easy listen, 1 hour, 2 hour, 3 hours, all day.
Yeah.
Right? Boom.
It's easy listen.
Set it and forget it. Go.
The Stick Season album, you can listen to it. There's no skips on that album.
0 skips.
0. So that was my weekend in Ogunquit, Maine, which was really fun.
I love it. Yeah, all those clips were great. Just a smile on your face kind of clips. Canadian Open, real quick. Friend of the program, Sam Burns, who we went shooting with. People haven't seen one of the great clips ever. Is Frankie taking his first shot with a
shotgun.
With a shotgun.
We're not talking alcohol. We're talking fired a gun. And he was I thought his body was going to disintegrate.
Check that video out if you haven't, because we spent a full day with Sam Burns down in, is it Louisiana that we were in?
We were, yeah.
We're in Louisiana. And he's an excellent guy. He is just kind of true to who he is and himself. He's got, from 10 minutes away from his golf club, which is 10 minutes away from his home, is like his property where he built this cottage that's got all kinds of, firearms, cooler full of beer. They hunt, they fish, they hang out, and then he flies to golf tournaments and almost wins golf tournaments. That's pretty much what he does.
Yeah.
And so seeing Sam Burns in there, he was as close as you could possibly be to winning that golf tournament. And unfortunately for him, Ryan Fox, the Kiwi, came out and made a huge putt on the 72nd hole. Then they went to 4 different playoff holes, I believe. The announcers kind of got Sam Burns. Like, this guy's the number 1 putter on tour when he had a 5-footer to win the first playoff hole, and then he missed the hole with it. But kind of an interesting playoff where they just played the 18th hole over and over again after the second attempt. So then for the third attempt, they changed the hole location, which I've never seen before.
Yeah.
In my life, they went out there and changed the pin location as they were going up to the tee, which everybody was kind of losing their mind on. I didn't really mind it. Whatever. At that point in the playoff, it's like you could throw all kinds of crazy shit out there, move some tees around if you want.
Right.
Play from one hole to another hole. I don't care. It's a playoff. It's like you got to get through it. We've been in that situation with Barstool Classics before, where it's like, we're running out of time here. People got to catch flights.
Let's just flip a tee.
Yeah,
we'll flip a tee. Whoever gets it, they win.
Roll some dice. Let's go. Who's going to win this thing?
Yeah.
Ended up, the Ryan Fox hit a great shot into the par 5 on the 4th playoff hole and got the win. But very notable, just kind of playoff, interesting. Canadian Open, the fans are great. And then the other most notable thing from that event was Rory McIlroy shooting a trillion. Kind of came out of nowhere.
What did he shoot? Did he shoot 78 on Friday?
He was 9 over, I believe, total for the tournament.
Listen, we don't have to revisit the conversation that we had last week about Rory, but you weren't there, Beef, but we were basically talking we don't know what this guy's deal is. He skipped media at the event right after, then didn't call Jack about the memorial. It's like, this guy might just be riding the Postmasters win, glow, and wave, or he might just take up woodworking and retire and be like, I'm kind of done with golf.
Hey, he's earned it, right? Of course he has, right? He's finally won all 4 of his slams. Whatever he does the rest of the year, it doesn't matter. It's not going to compare to what he did at the Masters.
It's so
right?
When was the last time Rory came even close to shooting 80?
Dude, this guy, he's spotting dimes, eating onions.
Exactly.
That's kind of what I feel like with him, where it's like he's starting out the year winning at Pebble, winning at Sawgrass, winning at Augusta, and then shooting 100. And you're like, what the
It's
hell?
it's like a testament to focus.
It is.
Like when you are focused and you are dialed in and you have a goal in mind, when you're like, all right, I'm winning all these events early in the year, but the only one that really matters is the Masters. And then you win that. And clearly all of your focus went towards that, and it's spilling out of you on the 18th green with all of the emotions. And then you're just like, I'm going to go, what, he go to London, and then he went back to Ireland. He's just sort of been floating a little bit, and I don't blame him.
No, dude. Yeah, it would almost. It's the only thing that makes that confusing is like, dude, if he had won, if the Masters that he won was the last major of the year, I don't think any of this discussion would be occurring at all because he would just be off into the sunset for the rest of the year.
I agree.
But what kind of almost hurts his like public image in this instance is he wins the Masters, and then as we've talked about, it's just back to back to back huge events that he's still got to play in. Where it's like, dude, if you're just celebrating for the rest of the year and you're like, you know, that nobody would give a fuck. But it's also he's kind of like also got to show up. And not gotta show up. Like, I'm sure he's showing up in his mind, like, thinking, like, okay, I'm playing solid golf this year. Okay, I can come out and win. It's not that he doesn't care at all. He's going through practice rounds and stuff. But part of that is, like, you just said focus level is, like, it's not nearly as ramped up. And it tells you, like, the edge in golf is so fine that you're seeing him just, for him, you know, sort of struggle out there. And it's like, if this, again, if he had won... If it was reverse, whatever, the British Open was the final leg of the Grand Slam and he won that in July and then the rest of the year, we didn't really see him again until like the Ryder Cup.
Right.
People would be like, yeah, of course he's out. He's on a bender. He's in Ibiza. He can be wherever the hell he wants to be.
It's a really good point, actually. Yeah, he's sort of, you like win the Super Bowl and then there's a game on Tuesday.
Right.
Like, there's a game on Thursday. You're like, but I did it.
And that
I
game's
can't
like,
go to Disney World. Like, I want to go.
Totally.
I want to spend 6 months in Disney World. That is like, it almost should be more accepted. We live in such a culture where it's like, what's next? All right, now it's the memorial. Oh, there's the milkshakes. Oh, there's Jack with the handshake. Oh, there's so many touch points that you have to hit. Where like I feel like back in the day, if you completed the career Grand Slam by winning the Masters in 1952 and didn't play the rest of the year, I don't think people would care.
Not at all.
Now it's like, where's Rory? He's not talking to the media. Why isn't he talking to the media? What's he doing? He's shooting a 78. And you have to just everybody's talking about everything all the time where you just get wrapped up in it and it's a conversation every day. He's kind of a prisoner of having his career Grand Slam completed with the first major of the year.
Yeah. Right, early in the year. And you know, he had an incredible year. Like it almost is like, dude, he would be safer, and not that any of this matters. It's just noise. It's just chatter.
We're doing the same thing. We're speculating.
Correct.
We're just talking about it.
That's pretty much our whole show. We should have named it that. But you know, it would have been if he just won the Masters and then on Monday released a statement of like, I'm not playing it until the Ryder Cup or something, and been like, everybody would have been like, hell yeah, you did the thing.
God, that would have been awesome.
But he has like obligations to the tours and stuff like that. So
sponsors,
I think the only way he can kind of play the game and manipulate it would be, hey, I have an injury that I don't really have.
Yeah.
I have a hand injury that's going to prevent me from being out until the Ryder Cup time period.
It does seem like he's kind of just going through it. He's just doing it. He's skipping media, not going to the memorial. He's just sort of taking it on.
Showed up to the Canadian Open, didn't even play 9 of the holes, and it's at a new venue. So he had never even seen his first 9 holes that he played on Thursday. And it's like, yeah, okay, I kind of see. I kind of get it. I understand what you're doing. You know, he a big part of the conversation when he did do his interview last week was, again, about the driver and the drivers failing. And to kind of re-explain that quickly, because I get it, if you're in golf, if you're not really that tuned in, whatever, you don't pay a ton of attention, it seems like are these guys just cheating using illegal drivers? Essentially the way it works, drivers are created to a way where there's a limit that you're allowed to have on a certain characteristic of the driver, basically how hot the ball comes off of the face, how long it sticks to the face, and you can't, of course, create and build a driver or use a driver that goes over that limit. So what do manufacturers do? They build it as close to that limit as you could possibly get. And then as you use drivers, the natural characteristic of the ball interacting with the face over hundreds and hundreds of strikes is that face changes, and it changes to where it could creep over that limit. And so they randomly test players' drivers at events all throughout the year. And it's very common for drivers to fail that test because of, like I just said, the characteristics of the face change over time, and if they tend to change where they skew over the line. So what happened was Rory's driver, whenever it was tested at the Masters or before the Masters, was totally fine. In that time over the next month, it became over the edge. When they tested at PGA, failed. Same with Scottie's, failed. And so that's fine, but everybody has their gamer, just like everybody back home has their club that they really, really like. Those guys have their gamer. And when they take that gamer out of your hands because it's not deemed usable anymore, non-conforming, that could be a nightmare for players. Even though the drivers are great, technology's great, all that, like that's your fucking gamer. That's what happened to Rory. That's what happened to Scottie. And Rory then essentially, when he talked about this last week, why he didn't do media and all that at the PGA, he's like, yeah, the driver thing was definitely a factor in that, where like I didn't want to throw other people under the bus, which is fair. He ended up kind of throwing TaylorMade under the bus on Friday after his interview where he shot the 78 at the Canadian Open, because he was like, yep, just missing that piece of the driver, which of course looks like a direct shot at TaylorMade, when in reality it's more a function of you're just trying to get your gamer right. It's everybody knows there's a difference between standing on the driving range, hitting shot after shot after shot, going to the course, playing well, and then I can't even imagine not only just going to the course, but going to the course in a major championship where everything is as hard as it could possibly be, standing over the ball, pulling it back, your ball speed's 190 something, and being a little bit unsure with the driver that you're using.
Yeah.
And like, I can't even imagine that. And so that's essentially where he's at with the driver and where Scottie was at, and kind of his whole answer with that. So yeah, you always feel bad for the equipment companies. They can get buried sometimes. And look, when you're a player at the highest level, it's like we've talked about a lot. You almost got to be a little bit like deflecting. You almost got to be a little bit delusional.
It's not me.
Right. Right. You kind of have to be that way for your psyche, for all of that. And so that's just kind of where he's at with that. And he kind of explained, I didn't want to do media. You know, they finished really late one day at the PGA, so he just wanted to go home and see Poppy before she went to bed. The next day, he didn't want to be, you know, angry out there and start chirping about the driver. He didn't want to bring up that Scottie's also failed, so he was like trying to stay quiet about that. Whatever. The point is, he probably should have just retired for the year after.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. No, I want to be clear. I'm supportive of that if he wants to do that. Like that.
Oh,
I think that would be very old school of just to like, I'm done until the Ryder Cup. Like,
I just got a hand injury.
Alone.
I got a minor hand
I know
injury.
the injury thing is probably the way to go.
That's the way you have to say
in 2025.
Yeah.
But I do wish he would just put out a statement and say, this is all just a lot, and I really don't need it. And I'm fulfilled because I won the Masters and I won the Grand Slam. So I'm just going to take a break. Like, we talked about that with like superstars, like movie stars. I mean, like when Leonardo DiCaprio puts a movie out, he probably does some media and then he disappears.
Oh.
You don't see him until the next movie.
Nope.
And it's like, if you get none of that nowadays.
Great point.
It's all about the next tournament and the next soundbite and the next podcast and the next round. And like, but when they put out movies, it's harder to do when you're, you know, a golfer with the schedule that they have, but you're just like, I'm gone until I want to be gone.
But even to that point, Trev, they do that almost twice for Leonardo DiCaprio, because once they're done filming, there's another 4 or 5 month process of them editing it all before the movie comes out.
Yeah.
Right.
So I'm away. You have to do retakes? Not me. Get
I'm
the
gone.
stunt double. I'm gone. My contract was for that. Boom.
And listen, it's a nice living to be a professional golfer, to be Rory McIlroy, to have all these sponsorships. I'm just saying, like, it probably can be a lot being in the limelight like that, and you just gotta maybe want to step back every once in a while.
Definitely a lot, and it's definitely relentless. And look, every human being is different. You know, like we had Ben Griffin in the interview later in the show talks about how like he plays everything. He's like, ever since I kind of got my tour card, like I play everything. I play all the time. That's just how he rolls.
Yeah.
And then you've got other folks who really pick and choose, and they just don't love being out there all the time for whatever reason. Again, every single person is different. And, you know, and if you look at Tiger, I mean, Tiger was unbelievably selective of when he played and where he played. And now, too, there's this different obligation because of the existential crisis of LIV, where like Rory, Scottie, all these guys now not only feel an obligation, like they actually have an obligation of X amount of events that you have to play. You're not allowed to miss certain number of elevated events. If you do, you get, you know, a fine or whatever. Like those things exist now and are in play. And so, again, you can go look at how many hundreds of millions of dollars Rory has made, how famous he is, how great everything is. He's got his plane. Everything's amazing, but everybody's also a person at the end of the day.
Yes.
That has emotions. They have obligations. They have things they get tired of, fed up with, whatever it might be. You got relationships in your life. Sometimes things are going great. Sometimes they're not. And so, you know, he's someone that we're going to break down because he's maybe the most compelling player in the game since Tiger Woods and Phil Mickelson. And so it's like everything he does is interesting. We're huge Rory fans on this show. I love watching him play golf. I still think the final round of the Masters was the most entertaining round of golf I'll ever witness in my entire life live.
Yeah,
like
I would agree with that.
I mean, I rewatched the other night the 2019 Masters with Tiger, and don't get me wrong, that was as good as it gets. I was trying to compare it, and I was like, I still think the Rory thing was crazier. It was just crazy.
Even just going back to like the 9-iron through the trees, and nobody knows where it's going to land, including Rory, and it lands right next to the hole and scoots by. Like that, I mean, that's just the start of it, right? Like it gets way crazier.
And then he missed that putt
right.
on that hole.
Yeah.
It gets way crazier as you go. But there's just, we don't have to get all the way into it, but it was, that round of golf is something else.
So he's so compelling. That's why we have to talk about him. And again, he could come out and basically miss the cut / be like, I should have taken the year off, or he could win this week. He's the second favorite in the field, as he should be. So he might be refocused if you do go look like, and it's completely different circumstances, but Tiger Woods in 2006, that was shortly after his dad passed away, missed the cut and shot $1 trillion at Winged Foot, and then he won the next 2 major championships in 2006.
Yeah.
Winning the Open Championship and the PGA, and I believe in that time he also won Firestone, so he won like 3 tournaments in a row shortly after that. So you just never know. There's a fine line out there, and it'll be fascinating to see how Rory plays this week. The Stanley Cup Finals are here, and the only place to buy hard to get finals tickets is Game Time, the official ticketing partner of Barstool Sports. What a hot start to the NHL Finals, by the way.
So I caught a little bit of it. I was traveling, but I was in the airport, and I was watching how many goals they scored in the first period of that first game.
It was, 3-2?
It was 3-2, I think. The place I was in was going crazy.
I had the over in that game.
Wow.
There you go.
Mm-hmm.
That's huge.
I had the over in that game. And actually,
that's huge.
Yeah, I had the over in that game, and it barely hit. It was it luckily got to 3-3 and then 4-3. So 3 + 3 = 7. Shout out to Elio, the Iceman. But it's been a fantastic start. I know Biz, I believe, has been up in Edmonton for the first 2 games, and he was tweeting out and talking about just like, he's like, there's literally nothing I've ever seen in my life like being up in Edmonton for the Stanley Cup Finals games. And it just speaks to going to events. We're talking about it this week here, Oakmont. Seeing the venue, feeling the energy, being out there is unlike anything else. It could be a concert, it could be a comedy show, it could be a major championship tournament, and it could be a Stanley Cup final game. Make sure you get to a game, and we're talking about Game Time is going to be by far the best place to do it. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. You download the Game Time app, you create an account, you use code FORE, F-O-R-E, for $20 off of your first purchase. They've also got the GT Picks feature, which you click on a game, you click on GT Picks, and it shows you the best values all over the place. It could be, you could be way up top, and it's got a great value if you don't mind being up there. If you're talking closer, more premium stuff, GT Picks is going to show you a great value there as well. They've got Stanley Cup Finals, NBA Finals, MLB, and all the summer concerts that you want. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code FORE for $20 off. Download the Game Time app today. What time is it? Game time. You know that moment at night when you are locking up, turning off the lights, and you just want to feel completely safe before heading to bed? Well, that's what Simply Safe gives me. I've been using it for a while now, several years actually, and it's honestly changed how I think about home security. I've got cameras, like 4 different cameras on the outside. You can look at all of them through the app. You get the little beep, beep, beep on the door lock thing going so that you can obviously know when somebody is coming in and out of the house. When I'm not in town for Pinehurst House, you get like a notification every time somebody opens the door. Simply Safe's just the greatest.
Yeah, no, we've been working with Simply Safe for a long time, so much so that Frankie now has a family that he has to protect.
That's right.
And Simply Safe, we've been with him for a long time, Beef. That's how long. The families are growing.
Couldn't have been farther from a family when we first met that man.
You go back to when this show started, we're just a bunch of young bucks who didn't know what they were doing. We still don't know what we're doing,
True.
But yeah, Frankie's got a family now, and I know he uses Simply Safe. He's got the cameras. He's got everything that Riggs just described. So if you're in a similar situation, get Simply Safe. You really should.
Ranked #1 in customer service by Newsweek and USA Today. Monitoring plans start around $1 a day. You get a 60-day money-back guarantee. They were named Best Home Security System of 2025 by CNET. No contracts, no hidden fees. Just visit simplysafe.com/foreplay. And you can claim 50% off a new system with a professional monitoring plan and get your first month free. That is simplysafe.com/foreplay. There's no safe like Simply Safe. Oakmont is as historic as it gets. This will be the 10th U.S. Open that's been held at Oakmont. I pulled up some of the notable winners, and this isn't to take away from a couple of the names that aren't on this, but Tommy Armour, Ben Hogan, Jack Nicklaus, Johnny Miller, Larry Nelson, Ernie Els, Dustin Johnson have won U.S. Opens, and I believe one of those was a PGA Championship at Oakmont. So the names, the pedigree here Jack Nicklaus famously beat Arnold Palmer in a playoff here when Arnie was the biggest hometown favorite you could possibly have. That's when Jack, it was his first major championship that he won. That was, I think, 1962. And if you go watch any documentaries about that and whatnot, I mean, as Jack was walking down the fairway, people were yelling the meanest shit to him. They're calling him like this dumpy fucking loser, like chirping him because they wanted Arnie to win so bad.
Pittsburgh fans turned into being Pittsburgh fans that day.
Oh,
They
yeah.
said, hey, whether it's football or golf, that's our
This
guy,
is
and
one
he's
of
a
those
PA guy.
towns-
Let's go.
Pittsburgh's one of those towns for sure.
Uh-huh.
Cold weather towns. You get people, they get feisty.
Oh yeah, that's exactly right. This is that kind of spot. So I'm very excited for Oakmont. We were having this discussion a little bit off camera earlier, but it'll be interesting to see where the USGA goes this week because there are some venues where they really gotta like grind to trick it out a little bit, and it's up to them. This is one where they could kind of go either direction because Oakmont is so naturally difficult. Already on a week-to-week basis, it is as difficult as it gets. I believe one of Jack Nicklaus's quotes from like 1960s or 70s, maybe Arnie, maybe Jack, one of them said it, where it was like, Oakmont's the only course in the country that they could simply host the U.S. Open on demand with no lead-up time, no prep. And I think that, there's probably a few others nowadays because the way they keep them in normal condition, but this place on any given day is as hard a golf course as you'll ever play. Now they've got this. We're looking at the 5-inch rough. Everybody's doing the golf ball dropping thing. We're looking at the 5-inch rough. We're looking at the greens are going to be lightning fast. The fairways are tilted and narrow and really hard to hit already. And now if they can make them firm, which again, there's been some rain over the weekend. There's some rain in the forecast, but not as bad as it was looking. Is the USGA going to try to go out for blood? Or are they a little bit nervous of negative commentary? We've been having this conversation for 8 years of, they've lost the golf course. Zach Johnson.
Shinnecock.
I believe Bryson called it clown golf that year at Shinnecock. Phil Mickelson hit a moving ball that year when he putted it off the green. So there have been plenty of times where they've driven people absolutely crazy. I think they're coming off a couple weeks ago, the U.S. Women's Open at Erin Hills, where things got pretty much to the edge on the weekend, but I think overall reviews were that it was great. So I don't know what exactly.
So are the rumors that it's gonna be an over par winner?
I think
is that how people feel?
I think that's the heavy favorite that's gonna be over par.
Well, I looked. So we're gonna get into our DraftKings snake draft here a little bit. We could do that very soon. Kind of an ad read, so I don't know if we should just do it right now or do it when we do ads later.
Let's do it later.
I
gotta prepare.
One of the wagers on there in the prop bets is, will the winning score be over or under 278.5, which is 1.5 under par?
Do you have the odds?
It's like minus 110. So
okay, it's pretty yeah.
So the betting has it at minus 1.5 is kind of the line. So we'll see. I mean, I think that will change if I think the rain is kind of leading to that. But a lot of the players coming in and a lot of the reports, it's interesting when you talk about winning score, that is so far off from how the course is actually playing. That is one player finishing better than everyone else. Where it's like, dude, you're talking about 155 other players, basically. If that's the line and they hit that line, 155 other players are shooting over par.
Right. 99.9% of the field is probably going to be over par.
Look at
what the line tells you.
I think this is the week that the USGA finally realizes that this has gone too far into the hardness of golf courses. We played it a month ago, right? US Open Media Day.
That video's coming out this week as well, by the way.
And nobody played well in terms of like how the ball hit.
Right?
Yeah. The rough was 4 inches thick at that point in time.
Yeah, they grew it up now.
And now it's an inch thicker. The greens are only faster. You're going to have tour pros out there this week, right, that are going to look wonky. They're going to look weird.
Well, that was the thing, too, because it rained the night before that we played it as well, and obviously that softens the greens, whatever. Dude, hitting out of wet, thick rough is impossible. I think I talked about it on the podcast. Maybe I didn't. I don't remember. I remember, like, us hitting out of it. Me, you, Francis, all of us. And you would look back, and after the impact, it would look like you, like, hurt your everything in your body.
Absolutely.
I don't know. I don't know what's going to happen.
Whoever wins this week is going to hit the most fairways. Because if you're hitting in the rough, put a bogey, put a double bogey on the card, move to the next hole.
Yeah.
I legit couldn't hit out of the rough. Like there were many times, and people see in the video that's coming out, where I failed to hit it out of the rough. Like, it just didn't go anywhere.
And it wasn't as thick as it's going to be. It had rained, but it sounds like it's going to rain a little bit this week. So
I think they're going to get a little bit of rain. Hopefully they don't get too much. They do have a lot of the technology. They're able to get it as firm as they can, even with some rain.
yeah.
At least as firm as you could these days. But if you get a ton of rain, there's just not much you can do. So for a little contextual history of the last couple decades, when the Open was last here in 2016, they got a ton of rain Wednesday night, and Dustin Johnson won at 4 under par. In 2007, and this is by far the highest winning score in the last 2 decades, or since this time, I guess I would say. 2007, Angel Cabrera ripping darts in that yellow shirt. He was 5 over par, won the event. And the year before that, Jeff Ogilvy, when Phil Mickelson collapsed, I'm such an idiot, he called himself afterwards. Jeff Ogilvy was also 5 under par or 5 over par at Winged Foot in 2006. Since then, we have not had a winning score higher than 1 over par. Justin Rose in 2013 and Brooks Koepka in 2018, which was at Shinnecock. If you look at the last handful, or last 6 or so, Bryson in 2020, 6 under, John Rahm, 6 under, Matty Fitz, 6 under, Wyndham Clark, 10 under, Bryson DeChambeau, 6 under. I think the USGA is out for blood this year.
This is the biggest blood moment ever, I think.
It could be.
This thing could end higher than +5.
I kind of want that.
You want your champion to be sitting there at +7?
Yeah.
Scottie Scheffler has won the U.S. Open at +7.
More than anything.
I think I do. Why not? As long as it doesn't, I guess it's hard to if you're at a score, if the winner is at that score, you start to get into lost the golf course, clown golf territory. But I don't, is that even possible at Oakmont?
You have guys shooting 78-78 and making the cut.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Shooting 79-80 and making the cut.
Yeah.
Yep. That would be awesome. You don't want that beef?
It's nice to see from time to time, but I think we've gotten to a point where we've gotten way too far.
Well, what do you mean we've gotten to? I just read the winning
But don't
scores.
you
They're
think-
all under par.
Don't you think we've gotten?
You just said +5 on Angel Cabrera.
That was
an outlier.
20 years ago.
Don't
Okay.
you think
Well, in terms of the DraftKings thing, I'm hammering the above par.
you have
number.
to? I
Hammering.
also think this is a major and it's Oakmont, it's US Open, so it's different. But out there on tour, you're seeing a lot of double-digit under par. It can't hurt to every once in a while throw them the other way.
Agreed.
Dan, I don't think it's going to be great for the viewing portion of golf.
Yeah,
Do I want to see a tour pro that's 200 yards out and 5-inch rough come up 40 yards short?
Yes.
Kinda.
But it only validates in terms of Joe Public who's watching on the television go, I did the exact same thing. But you only need 1 or 2 of those shots throughout the entire tournament and be like, I get it.
I think,
watch a full day of it.
I think in a world of clips and virality, I think a US Open where the best golfers in the world are hacking it 40 yards in front of them, I think that's a good world to be living in. I think that's what people want.
I think it's just the one. You just need 1 clip and that's it. I don't know how much coverage of the U.S. Women's Open you guys watch, but they were literally pitching it up on the green where if you did not land the ball and get it to stop within this table, you were in a collection area 40 yards away.
I thought that was awesome.
And it was like, no, come on. That's
You didn't
not
like
awesome.
that?
No,
The
I
good
didn't
thing
like
is-
that.
Oh,
These
Pete.
people are out here struggling. It's just coming back to them 40 yards. It's coming back to them.
But here's the
Like-
good thing is that everybody plays the same golf course.
Right.
I'm not saying they're not playing the same golf course. I'm
you're
just saying.
it's not like it's bad for one guy, it's good for another. It's just everybody is in the fucking trenches.
They're in the trenches. I get it.
I think to Trent's point too, I think that if it was like this every week, you would lose viewers. But I think that you see so much of the same thing where it's like they bomb it way down there. There's really not that much penalty. You're in the rough a little bit. You're in a fairway bunker. It doesn't really affect them. They can still get spin on the ball. They can still get clean contact on the ball. They can still hit it up on the green. Worst case, they have a harder look for birdie than they wanted. They don't make a lot of bogeys. They make a ton of birdies. And somebody shoots 15, 20, 25 under a lot and wins. Whereas if you get 1 week where it's like you're watching these guys play and there is such a fine line that it's like somebody who's a little bit off can't grind out like a 2 or 3 under. They're shooting like 82 because they're like a little off. And you're like, yes, that is what I need to see.
The other thing too is tough conditions like that bring out the real personality in these guys.
Yeah.
Wait till Bryson misses the fairway by 1.5 feet, can barely find his ball, and then chunks one out, and it only goes 50 yards. You're not going to get YouTube golf Bryson. You're going to get the real guy who's like, oh, I can't believe this is like unplayable right now.
Yeah.
And like that
Yeah.
is what you want, baby.
But look at the Masters, right? We had, what was it, Nick Taylor?
What about him?
Shot 89.
Oh, Nick Dunlap.
Nick Dunlap, sorry. My
90.
apologies. Nick
Shot
Dunlap.
90.
He shot 90, right? Second day he backed it up. Everybody loved it. But who's following Nick Dunlap on day one when he shoots a 90?
But that 89 was like one of the biggest stories of the week.
I'm not saying it's not. It's so big, though, because it never happens. Right? Now you're going to have an entire field of doing it, though.
Yeah.
That's not a good thing.
I think it's
not
such
a
a
good
good
thing.
thing.
One week, dude. Like we're both saying, it's every week would be like, all right, let's make this a little bit easier.
If we could have the winning score be somewhere between -4 and -7, you wouldn't hear me say a thing. The fact that we're gonna have the winning score, which I think is the winning score to be +3 or +4 or more, is crazy. It's mind-boggling.
But I think the main part where because that's all personal preference, fine. But the main part where I would disagree is I think it gets more people to perk up, text their group text, turn on their TV if they see. Are you seeing that like the leader shot 74 at the U.S. Open today and is like, and Justin Thomas shot like 81 on Thursday, but he's like in the top 5 right now. I think
Totally.
people start being like, what the fuck is going on at the U.S. Open? I got to turn this thing on. And I think that's good. And I think that at some point, the USGA is, we talked about this during the PGA Championship of like, it does struggle more than the other majors to have a true identity. Masters obviously has its own identity. The Open Championship has its own identity. It's the only links golf they play all year. The USGA and the US Open's identity is it's the toughest test. It's the quote of we're not trying to embarrass the best players, we're trying to identify them. And so when you do turn on the US Open, you kind of expect like, all right, I want to see some crazy carnage is kind of the term that we've used over and over again. And I think that they do got to kind of lean into that. And there is an element of like, and I love this because Ben Griffin did talk about this quite a bit in the interview. He's like, there's a little bit of like luck involved. And like, you could both hit really good tee shots. One's a yard off from the other, which usually still means you're down that giant fairway. Whereas in this one, it might be one guy literally doesn't have a shot and has to chip out. The other guy can hit a 7-iron into the middle of the green. And he's like, but at the end of the day, it's like the USGA, like, fine, if you don't like it, you don't think this is like, don't show up. But who's not showing up to the US Open?
You have
like,
to.
You're coming to the US Open.
The thing on tour used to always be, right, like, you don't see guys ever hit 3 woods off the tee because there's such an advantage hitting a driver, and if you're off the fairway on most golf courses, you'll take the 30 yards and be in the rough compared to your percentage of hitting the fairway with the 3 wood.
Yep.
I think this week you're going to see a ton of guys putting the emphasis on hitting fairways. They'd rather give up the 30 yards.
Isn't that interesting?
Than no,
Than
I don't
just
want to go
hitting
watch
driver everywhere.
No, do I want to go out and watch somebody hit a 3-iron all over Oakmont?
You want to watch
Yeah.
like Bryson basically did that at Winged Foot. He hit it as far as he hit it way further than everybody else, and he was hacking out with an 8-iron instead of a 6-iron. And it's like, no, we want a game where it's like you got to be precise, and if you're not precise, you get penalized.
And we want a game where it's really making people think. I think that's what separates golf from a lot of other sports, is that it's not reactionary. You're out there and you're like trying to strategize and think your way through this. It's a course, right? Just like in whatever, American Ninja Warrior. It's like a course. It's an obstacle course that you're trying to get through.
Mhm.
It's a golf course. Like you're trying to figure out your way to get through this golf course. And if the answer is just pull driver, hit it as far as you can, and then hit the shortest iron you can into a green because you won't be penalized that much by missing a little sliver of fairway, then that it takes away a lot of this thinking your way through the course. And if players are standing up there on a tee going like, God, Joe LaCava, I think I need to hit a fucking 3-iron here so we're just in the short grass. That to me is like, oh man, he's hitting the chicken stick. Like there's something going on up there. I like that.
I surely hope I'm wrong, and I've been wrong on multiple things, with golf related, but
All of us.
I hope that
many.
when the podcast happens on Sunday night afterwards, the recap, it's not like, okay, it's +7 was the final, and this was such a interesting event to watch.
I just know if +7 wins the U.S. Open, there's going to be so many good quotes to talk about from every player in the field who's just like, I hate this. I hate this.
It's going to be slow-mo footage of guys hitting wedge shots that go 1 yard on a full swing shot because they can't get underneath the golf ball.
Oh, let me take my
Let alone
pants
them being
off.
in the ditches out here, right? We played it a month ago.
Yeah.
They not only have 5-inch rough, if you're off the fairway a little bit more than that, they got all those little trenches in there,
Oh, yeah.
which are all just like, pitch back out to the fairway. Please pitch back out to the fairway.
I wonder what, like, I don't even know if there'd be betting odds on this, but like, what's the highest score of the week?
God.
You're going to have guys sitting around a table. Just talk about betting. Sitting around a table going, I bet this guy doesn't get out of the rough from here. and it's a 160-yard shot. I bet you doesn't hit the green. I bet you doesn't advance it 100
Like,
yards.
So
somebody-
awesome. to
Is
me.
me too. Like, is somebody gonna shoot a 95?
Yes.
That
like,
could
I
be
think-
that could be a bet this week. What's going to be?
That's
the
what
highest?
that's what I'm saying.
Who's going to card the highest number?
Yes, I think so.
And as we talk about this, I don't feel bad because I know it's a huge opportunity and so exciting. Our guy Alistair's going out there, and it's
Oh.
like, oh my God, I'm playing in the Oakmont U.S. Open. Holy
Dude,
shit, man.
You know, it is. I just got a text from him. I was like, how is it out there? How are we feeling? He goes, I'm through one hole. My hand is cramping from the amount of signatures.
There you go.
Oh,
Popular
there we
guy.
go.
I
I
know.
love it.
It's
Isn't that
crazy
awesome?
he's playing
Big
this.
Al this
I know
week.
I wasn't on the show when you guys, after it happened, after you qualified. It's so fucking cool that he's playing in this thing. The fact that there's going to be B cross tees all over inside the ropes, hitting shots at the U.S. Open is super cool.
It is so unbelievably cool. Seeing some of the footage now, his one of his guys sent a couple pictures of like his golf bag is right there next to the USGA, says Doherty on it, and then there's the Barstool golf head covers in his golf bag, CMC design golf bag. Al's wearing the B cross tees, he's wearing the Barstool golf stuff. We scripted him for the week. It's like pretty surreal to see. This is the biggest event in golf. This is as big as it gets. It's on, it's Masters, U.S. Open, Ryder Cup, Open Championship, PGA. These are the events, and he's in it. It's insane.
Crazy. It's like surreal. I can't even imagine what it feels like for him. I really can't.
Yeah, he got so he missed a cut this last weekend on Corn Ferry Tour. He shot like 500 or 600 first round, then shot like one over the next round, missed the cut by one. So he's like, I'm gonna go to Oakmont early, and he got out there yesterday for the first time, which was Sunday, and he played the first hole and the ninth hole because there were storms coming in. So then he just had to bounce. So he played 2 holes.
Wow.
But he's out there today. He's all fired up. He's playing the front 9, and then we got our event today, like I said. So we're not gonna be able to get out there. But tomorrow, I'm not leaving until the afternoon, so I'm gonna go walk. He's playing the back 9 tomorrow. I'm gonna walk the whole back 9 with him tomorrow.
Awesome.
Cannot wait.
So cool.
Cannot wait. To get out
So cool. But long story short, I'm excited.
there. Me too.
You guys are all ready for just a bloodbath?
Yes.
I'm ready for
Give
whatever.
him +6. Give him +6 as a champion.
I'm
That's
ready for I'm ready for whatever Oakmont is ready to give the players.
I do want to see when they cut that leaderboard, when they cut to the leaderboard, and you just see a bunch of plus signs on the left side of the screen. I think that is the most beautiful thing I've ever seen. I think that's just as iconic as it gets. A couple other things real quick, and then we are ready to roll. You guys see any of this French Open final?
Yeah.
No, I was traveling.
Came all the way back.
Oh my
Alcaraz.
God. This was nuts. I
Crazy.
didn't see any of it in real time. I just kind of saw the social clips and then caught up with it later. But 5-hour and 32-minute French Open final, which is insane. Alcaraz is I watched his whole Netflix thing. He's got a Netflix documentary, which is really good. And him and Sinner are sort of like the new 2 guys.
Okay.
Sinner, I believe, is number 1 in the world. Alcaraz is number 2. And, dude, I didn't realize this until, again, later. I saw all the stuff he had won. I was like, oh, that's cool. He had won. He defended his title. Dude, he was down. He lost the first 2 sets. And then in the third set, he was serving, and he was down 5. He was down 5-3, and he was down 40 love
In the game.
in the game.
Wow.
So 3 championship points. He won all 3 of them, won that game to get it to 5-4, and then won that set, and then won the next 2 sets to win. So, I mean, dude.
Well, even at that point in time, he's at 5-4,
Right.
and then Sinner starts to serve. He's got to break set him again to get to 5-5. Then he wins that set, was his third set, and then he started to roll.
How do you
But
even
Alcaraz, even after, so like I would say in terms of tennis, it was Novak was the guy before him, right?
Yeah.
In between that, you have Roger Federer, and then go back. Even now, tennis is at a similar point, I'd say, with golf, where there's 5 to 6 guys on the men's side that could really win every single event.
Yeah.
And Alcaraz has pretty much been like this guy Scheffler, still winning most of these majors. Medvedev's been in there a little bit too.
He's got, I saw he got 5 majors at a younger age than Tiger Woods did.
I did see
Yeah.
that as well. And how old? What is he, like 21?
22 or 3 or something,
Yeah.
maybe.
He's like the tennis area is in a good spot for their tour. I would say golf is in a good area for their tour, right? You have healthy young guys that are all established, that are household names, that are fighting it every single week, right?
Are the Saudis starting to get involved with tennis? Did I see that like a year ago, or is that not happening?
Sure they are. I don't know. I don't follow it close enough. I'm gonna have to phone a friend, call Lurch in here.
Yeah.
I think if it's sports, I think they're in it.
Yeah. No, I mean I don't
If
follow
it's
tennis
Western
at all.
culture, they're getting into it.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, there's $1 billion,
I
$1
don't-
trillion
what they're
invested.
doing.
I
I'm
don't
sure.
follow tennis. I'm aware of Alcaraz, and I saw that starting to blow up on social yesterday, and I knew it had to be a huge. Like, how do you even? If you're a Sinner now, how do you even come back from that?
Dude,
Like, what are
and
your
they've
thoughts?
had some battles. I saw some incredible clips. Dude, tennis is so emotional too, of him standing there because they always have the second place person is out there for the ceremony and stuff.
Yeah.
So they give you like a silver plate or something.
I know, yeah.
And like just the look on his face up there, because just tears in his eyes up there, and I just was like, oh, dude, you ever played tennis?
No, not in any real way.
I've never played anything close to competitive tennis, but there's been stretches over some summers and stuff when we were in high school, college age, where we would go up to the tennis courts and some buddies play like some one-on-one. We'd have 4 guys be like, let's do a knockout and see who wins out of all of us. Play singles matches. The amount of yourself that you give to a singles tennis match, even is insane. You're running all over the place.
I can't imagine.
You're running everywhere. You're trying to save points. You're like calling in, out. It's like this emotional battle. 5.5 hours they go up there.
No.
This guy's got the biggest lead you could have. It's like bigger than 28-3, this guy's lead.
Right.
And he loses to his rival, who like the two of them come up, whatever. And he's just standing up there. You can just see it on his face. And I just felt so bad for him.
I'd break that plate. Just throw it right on the ground. Smash.
Oh,
I don't know
man.
what it's made out of, but I would try to break it.
But yeah, it was pretty badass.
That'd be like somebody coming down to Oakmont and they eagle 15, they eagle 16, they eagle 17, and they eagle 18 to win first place.
Let me tell you something, brother. That ain't happening this week.
I'm just saying.
That happens this week, I'm rioting.
Yeah.
I
If
will
that happens
riot.
this week, the winning score will still be +2. So it's fine. It doesn't matter.
Yeah, that would be great. I would accept that. Eagle finish. Oakmont's going to be awesome. We're going to throw it to Ben Griffin, again, I kind of reached up top, playing some of the best golf that there is out there. He's got great insight into Oakmont, what to expect this week. And then we're going to have, I'm going to have a full day out there Tuesday to talk about on Thursday's show, and then it'll be go time. Hopefully, I'm rooting for Carnage. Beef's rooting for 20 under par to win the event.
I didn't say 20 on par. I told you the sweet spot. -4 to like -7. Sweet spot.
So we'll see which one we get. But we'll be back on, we'll have press conferences to talk about, some quotes and whatnot, hopefully. And so Thursday's show will be another big one. And then we'll have our Sunday night, probably come out Monday morning, recap, instant reactions from Oakmont. So that's what's coming up on the docket. Again, we've got a full Oakmont video coming out this week. Trent breaking 85, the Midwestern version with his family, with his dad, with Beef out there. So check all that stuff out and enjoy Ben Griffin. The stakes are high and the greens are blazing fast. Major Championship Golf has arrived in Pennsylvania. We've got a snake draft we're about to do. A snake draft with myself, Trent, and Beef. We're going to pick a winner. We are going to pick a top 20 finisher. And we are going to pick a prop bet off of the DraftKings Sportsbook. All customers, for the record, can join the excitement this week with King of the Course promotion from DraftKings. Just place $5 bet on which golfer will rack up the most birdies or better in rounds 3 and 4. If your pick reigns supreme, you'll score a share of the $1 million in bonus bets offering.
That's nice.
Yeah.
Get involved with that.
Really nice.
You have to do
DraftKings Sportsbook is ready to crown the king of the course. Will it be your pick? Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app. Use the code FORE, F-O-R-E. That's code FORE, F-O-R-E, for your shot at a share of $1 million in bonus bets. Snake draft time.
Who's going first?
Let's have Beef go first.
Chief, go first.
You want me to go first?
Yeah.
Yep.
All righty.
And we're going to do snake draft. So it's
So it comes
Beef.
this way.
Trent Ryan, me,
You get 2.
me again, Trent, Beef.
Let's
Back
do
to
it.
me. All right.
What do you
So
got
I get a winner.
You can
Yep.
do whatever you want.
Well, I'm usually somebody that likes to go a little bit longer odds here, so I'll go with the winner this week. It's going to be Daniel Berger.
Wow.
Whoa, what are the
Daniel
odds?
Berger.
What are the odds?
He's at plus 10,000.
Would
Okay.
you pick at the PGA like Michael Block or something to win?
No, I did not pick Michael Block to win. I picked who'd I pick? I think I picked Speed.
Oh,
yeah,
that's
I
right.
picked
From
Speed.
That's
Career
right.
Slam. That's
That's
right.
right. I love
All
that.
right. So Daniel Berger's your
Daniel
winner.
Berger.
All right. I'll go next here. So I'm going to take this one. All right. So PGA Championship, I said 2 or more holes in one. I said it on the show, and then I didn't bet it, and it happened. I'm not letting that happen again. I'm taking it for Oakmont U.S. Open, 2 or more holes in one. It's plus 650. I'm aware of the reality that's probably not going to happen at Oakmont.
Yep.
Seems unlikely.
Yep.
One of these par threes is like 300 yards.
That's right.
Like it's gonna, but I couldn't let another tournament major pass where I didn't take it. And then if it imagine it happens again.
I'm jumping on but I don't feel good about it because you missed your opportunity.
2 or more holes in one. That's my favorite prop of the week.
I like it. He has gone early with the prop because it's snake draft. You don't want your best value pick to get taken.
I want it.
So that's nice.
I get it.
I'm going to go with my first pick. I don't want this to get taken off the board. So I'm going top 20 finish, Ben Griffin, plus 175.
Okay.
Let's put on a heater.
Plus
Put on a
175. He's been playing great golf.
He's on the show.
On the show. A little bit of emotional play there, perhaps. And then I'm also going to go, oh, man, for my winner. My winner pick, I'm going a man who's never won in the United States of America. Has pretty good U.S. Open finishes before. Plus 3,500. Tommy Fleetwood.
The lad.
The lad.
Nice.
Yep.
God, I would love to see him win.
Oh, man.
I really would love to see him win.
My other choice is going to be Alistair Doherty, but I'm going Tommy Fleetwood.
Okay. I've got, for my winner, we talk a lot about him on the show, and I've decided that he's just going to do the thing where he is going to focus and he's going to play well. My winner is Rory McIlroy. I'm just doing it. I don't care.
After all the chatter on this show, too, I love it.
We've been talking on the show that he's going to retire. I don't care. Plus 240, Rory McIlroy. I know that's not great value, but
Hey, it's a major. He's there.
well, I do think there's been a lot of chatter about him, and a lot of it has been negative, and we know when that happens, Rory's like, fuck it, I'm going to prove it. I'm still that guy.
Watch out. Don't fire that man up.
Rory McIlroy plus 240 to win the U.S. Open.
Alrighty. I'm going to go with now the top 25?
Top 20.
Top 20. Sorry, top 20s.
Yeah.
I got Shane Lowry's got a top 20th this week.
All right.
What's that odds?
You know what? He's plus 130, guys.
Okay.
I don't know if you guys have found it on your apps. He's plus 130 over
So you
there.
got Shane Lowry top 20 plus 130.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
And then my tournament prop, because it's right, snake draft.
Yeah.
I'm going tournament prop. All right. I'm going Tyrell Hatton to miss the cut
Okay.
this week.
All right.
Oh, wow.
Tyrell Hatton to miss the cut this
There you
week.
go. All right. And
I
then
think he's going to have a classic meltdown here.
Oh,
The rough's
yeah.
7 inches long. I think he's going to see a great meltdown.
I think a lot of guys are going to have meltdowns, but I think he's certainly got the shortest fuse.
Yep.
All right. So then I've got just top 20 left. I am also going with Tommy Fleetwood just for the top 20, though.
Okay.
You got him as the winner.
Uh-huh.
I've got him top 20 plus 120, Tommy Fleetwood. So I think he's going to have
You're
a good
high on the lad, eh, mate?
week. Yeah, I think he's going to have a good week.
I love it. I absolutely love it. I'll round things out. Going back to the well. The winner to par the 72nd hole,
Yeah.
no, is plus 110. Winner to par the 72nd hole, no.
Which you also won at Quail Hollow. Right? Mr. Scottie Scheffler bogeyed it.
That was a huge victory
So wait,
for me.
for that bet, can he birdie the hole?
Yeah, it just
Okay,
says,
okay.
It just says winner to par 72nd hole, no.
So any score other than a par. I like
3,
that.
2,
He could ace
5,
the thing.
6, 7, 8, 9, anything.
I mean, they're probably gonna bogey the hole, would be my guess.
Yeah, I think that's the most. I mean, I think most likely score is par, but anything else, that's why I'm plus money. But I either like. There's a couple scenarios that I really like. It would be absolutely electric if the winner has to birdie this 72nd hole to get into a playoff or win.
Yep.
And then the other one is a very similar situation to PGA, where they have a little bit of a cushion. And the 18th hole historically plays as one of, if not the hardest hole on the golf course.
Yeah.
And they kind of just chop it up there on purpose to make like a bogey to win the tournament. A la Tiger in 2019.
Yep.
A la Scottie at the PGA. And so there's a couple scenarios that I really like. I'm rooting for the former, where there's like a birdie on the 72nd hole that's massive.
But you're also in a good spot where it's Scottie is probably going to be the guy.
I know.
And he's the guy who just like, whatever score I got to make, I'll make it. Like
He always makes a mess of the last
right.
hole when he has a huge lead.
Right.
If he's got a 4-shot lead, he might be teeing off with a 6-iron just to hit it in the middle of the fairway.
100%. So
Right.
I think you're in a
Your
good spot
favorite
there.
beef.
Yeah, it would be great to
Your
watch.
favorite stretch?
6-iron, 6-iron, 6-iron.
That was I believe that's what Lucas Glover did at Bethpage in 2009. I think he hit 6-iron on this 18th hole.
Genius.
Roy McIlroy went a whole round with 7-iron, right? Roy McAvoy? Tin
Oh,
Cup?
McIlroy.
Oh, right.
I thought you
Yeah,
said,
that's right.
yeah.
Tin
Yeah.
Cup,
Tin Cup.
his
Tin
favorite
Cup.
club.
Quickly. Tommy Fleetwood started a YouTube channel.
Did he?
Oh,
I don't know if you saw that. Yesterday
I
he
saw
dropped his
that.
first video.
I
That's
saw that.
unbelievable.
Yeah, how I
Yeah.
prepare for a major or something
Yeah.
like that. Is that what he put out there?
Yeah, go
Look at that, Tommy. Go check out Tommy. He's the greatest. He is the absolute greatest.
You
All
know,
right.
DraftKings Sportsbook is also the greatest.
Code is 4 for your shot of a share at $1 million in bonus bets only on DraftKings. Guys, I got to tell you, I flew yesterday for the first time in a long time with no golf clubs, no checking bags.
Yeah.
It's a life-changing experience.
It's a whole different experience. As guys who travel a lot with checked bags, i.e. our golf bags,
Oh,
When you travel without them, the experience, I would say, is 5,000 times better.
You don't have to do even close to the amount of waiting beforehand.
Yep.
You don't have to do any of the waiting afterwards.
You're gone.
You're just gone. It's. I was telling you, Trent, it was like I actually didn't stop moving.
Right.
Like from the minute I got out of the Uber and onto the airplane, I really didn't stop moving. And then the minute that the plane deboards, what is it?
Yeah, deplanes. You're right.
Deplanes. From the minute we deplaned until I was in an Uber, I also didn't stop moving. You're just walking until you get into the Uber. Shipsticks is the reason you're able to do that.
You can do that. You
With
can just ship your
Shipsticks,
clubs.
It is stress-free travel. No more wrestling with oversized bags or worrying about your clubs getting lost in transit. Shipsticks takes the stress out of airport travel. It's on-time delivery. Your clubs will be there when you get there. They have white glove service. Their team monitors your clubs from pickup to delivery. If you got questions or concerns, you can contact Shipsticks any day of the week, and you'll always reach a real person, a real human being, which is very nice these days. So again, I can't tell you how nice this has been having Shipsticks, using Shipsticks, incredibly efficient, and boy, is it great traveling without having to check clubs. Use our code FOREPLAY20, that's FOREPLAY20, FOREPLAY20 at shipsticks.com, and you can enjoy 20% off your next shipment. That is shipsticks.com, code is FOREPLAY20.
I'm actually really excited to have you on. Last time we kind of met with you, chatted with you. Your whole world, your kind of career has changed dramatically since then. It was the WM Phoenix Open. Since then, you've got a couple wins. You got a team win. You got an individual win. You just finished second at one of the biggest events on tour. What's it feeling like to be Ben Griffin right now?
Yeah, I'd say it feels pretty good. Been on quite the run since we were all together at Waste Management, that's for sure. But no, just yeah, a lot of hard work. I've been training hard this year, doing the right things off the course, and then yeah, physically my game feels really nice. So it's nice to build confidence and get in contention a bunch. And unfortunately, I've gotten it done a couple times.
What have you been doing differently? Are you training differently? Do you have a different approach this year? In the off season, did you take a different, hey, let's regroup, let's refocus, let's do something different this year that's kind of changed?
Yeah, definitely. So I started out the season and I kind of was battling quad tendonitis in my left knee. Super weird, but pretty much whenever I get like an awkward lie or have to put weight on my left side or do anything that's relates to like kind of a squat like movement where I put pressure on my knee, I'd kind of get some pain that would flare up. And so on the road, like I always had my trainer back at home. We always worked together and always worked pretty hard, doing the right things from a mobility standpoint, maintaining strength, basically focused more on the longevity of the game rather than like being like a DeChambeau bomber per se. And so at Pebble, I had some awkward lies down the stretch, finishing the final round, and I was like, I need to see a PT out here because I played the first 13 weeks in a row. I mean, I'm just going from tournament to tournament. I'm not even going home. And I hired a guy, Derek Smith. He works with Ricky Fowler, and pretty much was just exclusively with Ricky the last couple of years. He'd have a couple guys pop in from time to time, and so he had told Ricky at the start of the year, like, hey, just FYI, I kind of want to maybe look at bouncing around with a couple other guys, maybe have another guy or two that would be full time. And so, but at Waste Management, actually, I started with him basically when we were all together, and was just doing PT work. We kind of got in the gym a little bit, but it was more just for like, all right, how do I fix this problem that I have? So we spent a few weeks trying to put on a little muscle around the knee, really doing a lot of PT work, especially after rounds, making sure I feel good. And then over time, I kind of wanted to build up a little bit more, especially having him on the road. I was like, well, I need to take advantage of this. Let's maybe train a little bit harder. It was my first kind of time spinning pretty much going in consistently daily to the tour trucks and trailers and seeing what other guys were doing. Before I would just kind of do my stuff at the hotel gyms and kind of go in.
You're like, wow, look at all this stuff people are doing.
Yeah,
I didn't realize what's going on.
Yeah, I mean, it's not like the trailers are that like fancy or anything. I mean, it basically just has enough for us to get by. But I was looking at who was going in the gym, was talking to other guys about, Charlie Hoffman specifically. He's like, dude, like if you look at what guys are in the gym, these are the guys that have had the longest careers on tour, and the ones that are most consistent are the ones having the most success. And so that was kind of like an aha moment, like maybe I should be training a little bit harder. And then as I started training a little bit harder, started getting strength, started feeling better, go to the range and I'm like, man, I feel good. Like my body just feels like it's ready to work. Whereas before I'd feel fine, but I wouldn't feel like jacked up going to the range. Like I'm going to try to, swing a little bit harder and I just feel like super stable. I like using the word stable because like, I guess when you build a very strong base, it's just like you go to the range and you just feel athletic, feel stable, swing. I felt like I had more control. And so I kind of just kept building from there, working out harder, turning warm-ups before rounds into kind of workouts. And so me and Derek, we're working out every single day now. Doing PT when I need to on the road, trying not to rely on that as much anymore, but really just gaining strength. So every single day, especially during an off week like this week, we're getting in there for an hour and working out. And then before rounds, I'm working out for about 35 minutes or so. Regardless of my tee time, I pretty much go in 2 hours before and then kind of reset a little bit and then get ready for the warm up for the actual round on the range. So yeah, this year's been, I've been very disciplined in my workouts and strengthening the body a little bit. And yeah, I mean, if you look at my ball speed numbers at Waste Management, I was probably swinging at 173 miles, or ball speed was probably about 173, 74, and now I'm consistently low 80s and can get to 85 or 86 if I need to, especially if it's, I mean, it depends on the weather and different conditions. But if it's 80 degrees out, sunny, especially down here in Florida, if it's 85 degrees out, I can get it to 186, 187 if I need to.
Wow, that's a huge difference. I mean, for the audience out there, I know it might sound okay, 173, but it's not like you're high 178, 179. Now you're 181, 182. I mean, if you're picking up 10, 12, 13 mile an hour ball speed, that is a huge difference out there.
Yeah, my averages since then have gone up probably 7 or 8. But my max has gone up probably 10 or 11.
That's
before
insane.
It was just hard. Like I was just like, I mean, people have seen my swing. I kind of get off the ground a little bit with my feet. I swing pretty hard, but yeah, now I feel like I can do it with a little less effort. I can swing a little bit harder and just use my bigger muscles. So it's been a game changer. It's actually really exciting. It's been a fun like little project. Like I kind of call it a side project, even though it directly correlates to my golf game, but it's kind of something fun I look forward to every single day. It's getting a little bit stronger, and it's been really fun. And I gotta credit Derek a lot, but I also have to credit. I mean, my previous strength coach Randy Myers. I mean, he was a part of this whole story with me getting back to golf and everything like that. And he's been a huge asset for me back when I was in Sea Island and training at home. I mean, we were putting in work every single day. Me, him, and Andrew Novak still works with him in Sea Island. So it's been a fun team effort kind of all together. And but yeah, I mean, this speed stuff has been kind of a little bit Derek, but more really from me, like just because I have a trainer that's that's helping me, it takes a lot individually to go in there and actually want to do it. And especially before tournament rounds, a lot of guys are very hesitant. So like when I'm in the trailers before rounds, I'm pretty much the only guy doing bench press, doing like rows and stuff. A lot of guys are doing more like movements, and like maybe jumping and different things like that. Whereas I like to throw around weights now before rounds. Maybe me and Jake Knapp and a few others.
Napper, what a great guy he is. But
Nap
I
time,
remember when we first the old nap time, a couple years ago when we hosted we did the broadcast for the Corn Ferry Tour event. Knapp was kind of one of the guys we were featuring on, and he's got the tattoos and he's absolutely jacked. And so to hear that he's one of the guys in there throwing some weight around pre-round, not the most surprising thing I've ever heard.
Nope, definitely not. I remember, and even this was back like end of March, kind of. I was starting to go in before rounds and after rounds. I went in a couple times for like a bonus workout, and I'd see him in there from time to time. I mean, that guy lives in the gym. He loves it.
Oh, dude, he absolutely loves it. It's interesting to hear you talk about sort of side project, and I feel like at your guys' level, probably very important to find whether it's you call it a side project or little games to play or something to keep it interesting, because I imagine it can just get crazy monotonous working on golf swing, mechanics, being out there going through a lot of the same routine. Like at some point you got to stimulate yourself a little bit with something.
Totally. Yeah. And I don't know. A lot of guys have families, so they're pretty involved with that. Me, I'm engaged to my fiance, Dana, and we she's still working right now. We're working on figuring out what long-term that looks like for me and her. But, yeah, I mean, there's less on my plate than a lot of guys. So it's fun to do that. as a side project. I also have different business stuff I'm working on. I'm fully in on this property management company that I'm doing with a couple of friends. So I've been working on that pretty much. Honestly, I think about that almost every day too. So it's there's a lot of stuff I'm doing.
I mean, I know you're the Lord Abbott guy and whatnot, but what do you get? What's this little project? Because I own a little bit of property, in North Carolina, so I'm interested. Let's talk about this.
Yeah, so basically, we decided, me and two partners, that I'm more of like they consider me like the brand ambassador in a way, but I'm still sitting in on calls and different things like that, and we'll have meetings every week. But yeah, basically, I've been involved in investing in short-term rentals. Basically, since I got back to playing golf and started actually generating income and not having negative $17,000 to my name. So
A lot better this way.
yeah, I mean, first of all, I invest in a lot of Lord Abbott products. They're an asset
Sure
manager,
you
and
do. I'm sure
they
you
have
do.
different funds, some of the best funds out there. But I'm also involved in some real estate. But yeah, this year in particular, I haven't invested directly into real estate. I've been investing in this property management company, and what we're doing is helping short-term property owners of short-term rentals use dynamic pricing strategies to help, regardless of where you are in the United States, help you kind of maximize occupancy. And on top of that, we're involved in the marketing and so forth. So if you're listing your short-term rental on Airbnb or VRBO or whatever, booking.com, we're going to help you in terms of photos and figure out what amenities might be best for your short-term rental to succeed, and figure out, hey, maybe you guys should look at buying a hot tub. This is what this XYZ property are doing.
Wow.
They're generating this amount of revenue. So we have a ton of data that we're looking at, and but really the dynamic pricing strategy is kind of what separates us from a lot of other companies. But we're not involved in the day-to-day operations in terms of cleanings and different like maintenance issues, but we're involved more in the marketing side. So we charge a little percentage on that, and it's been good. We're probably at 50 properties right now, and our goal is to get to 200 by the end of the year.
Damn. Look at this.
Yeah.
See, you got this guy, your wheels are always turning. Your brain's always spinning. I can tell that, which is great. So I wanted to pivot a little bit. I believe you went over and played Oakmont this week. Is that right?
Yeah, I played Oakmont on Monday. What a test.
So this show will come out Tuesday, actually, of US Open week. So we're recording this on Thursday. It's a couple days before US Open week, but people are going to be hyped. It's now, Tuesday of next week. People have watched live from a Monday night. They've seen a bunch of the footers. They're hearing little leaked reports of Rory and what he said, and Adam Scott, what he said. You were there. You're one of the best players in the world right now. You're 15th in the world golf rankings. You're one of the hottest players in the world. You just come back from Oakmont. What are people going to see next week at the US Open?
A lot depends on Mother Nature. I think if you look back at the last two US Opens that were there, going back to, I think it was 2006 or 2007. I can't remember which year Angel won, but I believe he finished at 4, 5, or 6 over par. So it was really firm that year. It was playing very difficult. This past time when Dustin Johnson won, it was much softer. Course played a little bit easier. Now, when we played it on Monday, it wasn't by any means firm, but it was not soft. And I don't know of any pro that shot under par that day. At least to my knowledge, it seemed like a lot of guys struggled. I made a few birdies, but I had my fair share of bogeys and stuff. Granted, we're coming off a tournament week. Most of us there were, and it's just like a Monday, and we're just trying to have fun with our groups we're playing with and see the course. But yeah, it's going to be really challenging. A lot of the fairways out there have a tremendous amount of slope and also are blind. So like you can't really see where the fairway line even is from the tee box. You're kind of guessing. You're looking at trees. Most guys are going to have yardage books that kind of have what are called T-pics, where the guy, Mark Long, who designs the books, he takes a picture and shows like, all right, what's your through line? What's it to the fairway in line with like all the different trees in the background. So you can get an idea, but it's still really difficult. I mean, it's much easier to hit a fairway if you can see the fairway. Like anytime you have a blind shot, it's not fun.
I always wonder that because like for us, for the weekend golfer, that's unbelievably true. Like we're so uncomfortable. It's interesting to hear that even at your guys' level, if like, that's kind of the line, your caddy's telling you that's the line, you're looking at the book that's got the tree line, it's still harder to hit that fairway no matter who you are.
Oh, without a doubt. And then, so I mentioned that, but also just like the slope in the fairways, like you can land there's a few fairways out there that you land a ball what you think is in the middle of the fairway, and you get up there and it's in the rough. Or it's close to like they have these little trenches that kind of weave through the property, and you can easily end up in one of those. Like you could be 2 yards off the fairway and be in this like little trench where you're just hoping to get it out of it. And so I think the rough will continue to stay long. Now, as the week goes on, obviously it gets trampled down between fans and players and just a lot of people that walk on it. So you see it kind of every week on tour. As the week goes on, the rough gets a touch easier, but the rest of the course tends to get firmer unless there's some sort of rain that comes in. So the firmness, if the fairways are firm, it's going to be so hard to hit even half of the fairways, I would say. And like if you're doing a really good job, if you're hitting half the fairways. And when you miss the fairway, it's really hard to advance it to get it onto most of the par fours, unless it's some of the shorter par fours. And you can hopefully hit it on the green. Now, what they did with the greens is there's a ton of contours. They made them bigger, but there's a lot of contours. There's apparently more locations for pins. There's a few holes out there where I'm like, I feel like there can only be one pin location. Like hole number 10, for instance. It's a severely sloped front to back green, and the pin was in the back left. And my caddy was like, yeah, they'll put one over on the back right. And I dropped a ball, and the ball just rolled all the way to the back pin. So I'm like, I don't think they can put a pin here. Like, I know you believe they can, but if the greens are 14.5 to 15s, like a 3% slope or whatever. So our yardage books only show slope if it's like a 3 or 4%, I think. And so in our books, there's a couple areas where there's no lines, but because the greens are so fast, there's going to actually be slopes that push it in different directions. So I'm flying in Saturday to go ahead and like write down all the different slopes, get a feel for like the green, like the course even more. I feel like I can't play it enough times to get prepared. So I'm going to try to play it as many times as possible. Play 9 holes a day, basically Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday.
Amazing.
Yeah.
So I mean, for us, right, we're fans of the game, you know, we love watching the game week in and week out. We love all the majors, all that stuff. For the US Open, we live for all this stuff trickling out about how hard Oakmont's going to be, the Road Massacre, Carnage, all that stuff gets thrown around. Do you have a preference at all? I mean, because I almost view it as like, God, all the players going to the US Open must, to some degree, just hate it, being like, we are going to get embarrassed. We're going to get our asses kicked. It's going to be, you know, you're trying to grind out pars. You're going to make a ton of bogeys. Over par might win it versus the average week on tour. It's, 10, 15, 20 under par. You're making a lot of birdies. Is there any kind of mindset shift for you going into this, or are you pretty comfortable with the fact that everybody's playing the same course and you just got to try to play it the best you can?
Yeah, totally. The latter of what you said. Just basically go in, feel confident. Everyone's got to play it, and you just got to try to strategize the best. But I do think there's going to be moments where top players who are playing really well struggle on this golf course, because I don't think it's going to actually reward maybe the guy who's hitting it the best. It's going to reward the guy whose strategy around the course and plays and misses it in the right spots the most is going to play better, just because there's a couple fairways where you can hit good shots and you can end up in the rough. But if you're in the right rough going to a right pin, you're totally screwed. But if you're in the left rough and you avoided the fairway slope, you might get a lie and have an angle and then be able to get it close. So like a hole like that, it could make a difference in a shot or two. So it's just like, you got to be super strategic. You kind of got to get lucky, I think, in a way. I think being in fairway bunkers is going to be better than being in rough. That was the same at Memorial a couple weeks ago. You're definitely better off being in fairway bunkers pretty much every single time. Otherwise, you're taking a 56 degree out. And these are pros, like these are strong pros, like some of the longest guys in the world, and they're having to hit sand wedge and pitching wedges max out of this rough. And the US Open is going to be the same. So like you're going to be laying up a lot on par fours or just trying to like bound something up near, close to the green. So yeah, I mean, for me, I'm just going to go in and just try to have fun. I'm not intimidated by it, but I do know that it's going to be a very, very challenging test. And I know that the cut's going to be probably 10 over par and the winning score is going to be probably a few over par, like if it's current conditions. That's just the way it is.
Yeah, I was going to ask you, you would sign for even par right now?
I think if you gave me +4 for the entire week, I would probably take it right now. And I would feel confident. I would be decently confident as long as it, like, I don't know what the weather is today at Oakmont, but if the course is like decently firm right now, I would side 4 over and expect to have a chance to win.
That's incredible. It gets
which
me
is
so
crazy
excited,
because
man. I can't tell you.
I can't tell you the last time I went to a course and was like, I'll take an over par score. Like maybe Karsten Creek at Oklahoma State, like at NCAAs, I would have been fine with that my senior year because that's like one of the hardest courses I've ever played. But
right,
it's weird because Oakmont, like visually, like a lot of the holes, it's not like you tee it up on the tee box and you're like, all right, I can take on this hole. It's not too bad. But it's just the rough is so long and the fairways and the greens have so much slope that you kind of go through the holes and you're like, man, this is like a hard hole to par right now. But on the tee box, you're thinking, all right, I can take this hole down. Like I can make a birdie. So it's not like
Right.
it kind of teases you in a way, a lot of the holes out there.
So interesting. So I was rewatching the back nine of the 07, I think it was 07, Angel Cabrera at Oakmont. And, Tiger was right there. Jim Furyk was right there. Obviously, Angel Cabrera was like holding on to this lead. And the back nine was so interesting and so fun to watch for me because it was like every other hole, it was actually kind of a birdie opportunity, yet you watch player after player kind of be up near the hole in like one less than regulation. So even the par five, what is it, the 12th hole, that's like 650, but they're ripping drivers down. They're hitting it up near the green. And then people couldn't even keep their chips on the green or like within anywhere near the hole, and they're almost three putting. And then I think it's the next one's a par three. The one after that's the short par four. Everybody's kind of laying up, hitting a wedge in there, and like still just not quite able to make birdie, but it felt like they should have birdie chances. And then 17, everybody was making a mess out of 17, which is like a 310 or 20 yard par four. And then mixed in between that was obviously the hard holes where it was like kind of hold on. And I guess just from watching it, like there's plenty of really hard courses that we watch, whether it's a US Open course or the Memorial last week, where it feels like it's like no let up. Whereas Oakmont was so interesting to me rewatching that back nine where it was like standing on the tee, and it was back when Johnny Miller was doing the call, who I love. And he was like, this is a birdie hole here. You should have a pretty good chance. And it's like everybody's kind of just like making bogeys. And I don't know. It just was, to me, it was like it felt like it gave you more hope or the players more hope and more opportunity off the tee of like on paper what this hole should be. And then as they got closer and closer to the green, it was like, oh no, they're not going to make birdie here. Oh, they're going to struggle to make par here. And it was like over and over again watching that. It was just interesting. It wasn't all 500-yard par fours. It's like it's a more of a mixed bag than I sort of anticipated and remembered. And that I thought was almost more of like a mind fuck for the players because it was just like, God, it's just not easy, even though it looks like it should be kind of easy.
Totally. Yeah. And when I played it on Monday, I birdied. I think all my birdies were pretty much on the hardest holes. Like number 9, one of the hardest holes out there, I made birdie. Number 18, one of the hardest holes out there, I made birdie. And then some of the easier holes on paper, I was like grinding for bogey. I remember on a couple of them. And I'm like, isn't this supposed to be an easy hole? And then I birdie the hard hole. So that's just kind of what these hard championship golf courses are like. If you hit good shots for pros, like, yes, we might have a 6, 5, or 4 iron into like a par 4. So like I had a 5 iron into 9, I had a 6 iron into 18 and had 4 feet for birdie and 8 feet for birdie. And it's like, yeah, we're really like, we're good. So like we can still birdie these holes, but we can look like fools with wedges in our hands if there's a ton of slope or if there's heavy rough, and especially around the greens, you can get these gnarly lies where chipping is so hard because it's almost like it doesn't matter how hard you swing. You don't really know how like the ball's going to come out. Like it's definitely not spinning, but you're just trying to get a feel for how the club's going to go through the turf of the rough. And there's some times where your club just gets stuck and sometimes it goes through and you're just like playing this little guessing game of how can I get to the ball cleanly. And it can be frustrating, but it's just going to be a good challenge. Let's put it that way.
Is there any part of you that's like trying to work on having a good accepting patient attitude going in? Because of watching US Open after US Open, a lot of what you said earlier, the best players or whoever's hitting it the best might not necessarily get rewarded all the time, and that can just drive people crazy. And you see at these US Opens, Shinnecock was always our favorite example, where Zach Johnson said that they lost the golf course. Phil Mickelson's hitting a moving ball. It's like the US Open can almost drive people mentally insane more than it even can test them physically sometimes. And it feels like kind of the toughest person mentally. Everyone's going to get frustrated. Everyone's going to have where they thought they hit great shots and they're in a horrible spot. Can you go in somehow trying to be like, okay, Ben, we got to remember, we're going to get pissed off out there. We're going to feel like we got screwed. It's going to feel like we're getting beat up at times, but I got to do something to make sure mindset wise, I'm as tough as I can be out there.
Yeah, the course is definitely going to separate the field a little bit. It's going to separate guys not from a physical side, but definitely from a mental side. I think that's something I'm really good at. Over the years, I've gotten way better at focusing on each individual shot, and I don't think ahead anymore. Like it's hard to get to this point, but I've gotten to the point with golf where I'm so focused on each individual shot. I'm not thinking about like, might be thinking about placement for the next shot, but I'm not thinking about a hole in advance. I'm not thinking about the previous hole, and that's going to be key at U.S. Opens. You got to put bad holes in the rearview mirror. You got to just let them go, and you might make a double and you might think, oh crap, I need to bounce back and make a birdie. And I think a lot of the best players in the game are really good at bounce back birdies. And I like to think I'm pretty good at that. But in the US Open, I'm not thinking about that at all, because you're going to make a bogey and then you're going to step up on a really tough hole and you're going to have to go right back to work. And it's the moment you start trying to make birdies in US Opens, it probably can backfire pretty quick if you're too aggressive on the wrong hole. So I don't think the USGA is definitely going to set it up to where there's going to be they're going to reward really good shots on a lot of holes, but there's going to be some holes and some placements that are really going to frustrate guys and really make guys go into scoring and say, hey, I want to talk to this referee who set this hole up. Like, what were they thinking? Like, guys are going to say that. But you just gotta be so mentally tough in the majors. This is my first U.S. Open, but I've played in PGAs and the Open Championships overseas, and so I kind of understand what it takes at the highest level in those tough situations. And I think going back to like Memorial is almost like a major championship venue at Muirfield Village, and especially the way they had it set up. So I feel like I can kind of lean on those moments last week and kind of continue into the U.S. Open with some confidence.
Yeah, that's got to feel like as good of a prep, as good of a warm up, gear up for the U.S. Open as you could possibly have. I mean, that golf course, it is so intriguing to watch from, again, a viewer standpoint, because you can feel and see from the players strategizing how to make certain scores, where a lot of times it's kind of hit it anywhere for the most part. You're not going to have horrific lies. You can wedge it or hit some mid or short iron up there on the green. And worst case, you're going to have probably a tap in par. Whereas this was like, the shot by shot on each hole, you could tell watching the player, like, okay, here's my adjusted score on this hole now. How could I possibly think my way through getting to somewhere like a 4.5 on this hole, instead of just locking up a 4. And I thought that was so compelling. So, that's got to feel, I mean, I guess you went to Oakmont the next day. Did it feel when you were there like, damn, that was a pretty similar-ish test for what we're going to face?
Definitely. The rough was very similar. And yeah, I mean, Muirfield, it's a great U.S. Open prep course because, I mean, they could host U.S. Open there. The reason why is because it's not like you just can ship driver on every single hole. There's a lot of holes out there. You're hitting 3-wood, you're hitting long irons, you got to strategize it. You can't just like overpower it. And then there's also the greens. You're focused so much on landing spots, which is what you have to have at US Opens too. And the greens are small and you can short side yourself really fast. So yeah, I mean, it's one of the toughest venues we play on tour. I don't know what, where it ranks necessarily in terms of like the average winning score on the tour season, but it's got to be in the top like 5 or 6 toughest PGA Tour events all year.
I know. I remember gearing up for the tournament last week for the podcast. I was kind of doing a little bit of research, and it was like, I think 7 under and then 6 under with Scottie and Victor the last 2 years were the winning scores. And I think statistically, like, I know Bay Hill's been up there before in terms of like some of the tougher venues with winning scores and whatnot, but it's definitely up there. Memorial's up there.
Yeah, it's got to be top. It's probably top 5. It's hard to guess. So
yeah,
I mean, it was a very difficult test, but it's a good indicator of kind of like where your game's at, and it definitely exposes if you're struggling in certain areas. So it was nice for me to play well there to kind of furthermore help my confidence going into more majors.
So you're one of only a few players, I think 3 players in like the last 4 starts in the last month that have beaten Scottie Scheffler. You took him down the stretch at Colonial, which was so awesome to watch the drama on 18 after the hole out too, and then you stepped up and buried that putt. I got to ask you about that moment because you know, man, I was watching that entire back nine, and we talk all the time about how hard it is to win, you know, and it looked like you had a really firm grip on the tournament. You were hitting the shots, and even when it looked like, you know, it looked like things could maybe get a little tighter than they should, it was like you'd step up, you'd make a big putt, you'd make a huge birdie, and then still somehow golf has a way of doing the golf thing. You know, he holes out the chip from the rough on the 72nd hole, and now all of a sudden you just had this crazy little chip from standing in the bunker. You're like almost holding it down to the hosel, hit an amazing shot. Now you've got 3 or 4 feet. Like, I know you're really good at taking it shot by shot, but what was going through your mind there when he holed that?
Yeah, I think I was just in such a good flow going into the 18th hole because I had just grinded out a ton of pars in a row. And it's funny because I assessed that round after, with my caddy, and then also just kind of by myself. And there was one bad swing that I wish I had back, and I had parred the hole. But number 14, the dogleg left, was my only real bad swing down the stretch. And it's funny how that golf course, Colonial, every year I played it on Sundays, which I didn't play it on Sunday the previous year because I missed the cut, but the year before, I mean, it just gets so firm and so difficult, and like the fairways get hard to hit. The wind's always sneaky around there because there's a lot of trees, and so you can't really feel the wind. But then you get to a tee box like 16, which is a little bit elevated, and it backs up to like a fence in the road and trees, but you see this American flag up on top of the clubhouse just blowing so hard. And you're guessing, like, you're just like, all right, well, I guess it's going to get hit downwind, but at what point is the ball going to go downwind and start going really far? And so that hole is 190, 194, I think, the final round, and I hit a 9-iron, and I was 15 yards over the green. Like, nuts. I hit my 9-iron 160. I was probably hitting that 9-iron that day, probably low 160s, and it went 210 yards. It's just like, you can't explain it. That's just how challenging that.
What are you
course
supposed to hit
is.
wedge there? It's 190. You're supposed to hit wedge.
So I didn't have a birdie putt from after hole 12. Hole 12 was my last birdie putt. 13, I flagged it, went over the green, didn't get up and down. 14, out of position, bad hole, whatever. 15, just through the fairway rough, couldn't get it on the green, up and down par. 16, flag it, over the green. 17, tee shot, I thought was good, right rough, over the green, up and down. And then 18, okay tee shot. I should have hit it more left, but in the moment, like missing it right there to a left pin, I was okay with. So right rough, really such a hard shot to get on the green. Of course, I leave it in that awkward little spot and then chip it to 4 feet. But I mean, when Matty chips that in, it's so expected, because when you're chasing on the PGA Tour, all you're trying to do is like literally hole out the next shot. It's like me when I was chasing Scottie down the stretch, like 14, I pull out driver. Like no one's pulling out driver there except for probably me, because I have a chance to win. So it's like you start pulling off stuff when you're in second place that normally wouldn't happen. And then I eagle 15 and birdie 16 at Memorial. It's like all of a sudden Scottie's thinking like, man, these are hard. 16 is like one of the hardest par threes in the world. And Ben just birdied it. Like, what the heck? But anyway, so I was like, of course Matty chips it in, because all he's thinking about is trying to chip it in. But yeah, I'm over that 4-footer. Unfortunately, I'd put so many good strokes on it on par putts previously, and I felt so calm and composed. And I think it goes back to like winning Zurich with Andrew, just battling those feelings and getting it done. And in that moment at Charles Schwab, I just felt so good and just hit it left edge and picked it out of the hole. Basically, if you're looking at the footage, I basically like walked it in, which is kind of bizarre.
Oh yeah. It was the most, it was, it was like you didn't even know it was important. Like the way the footage, I was like, does he know what happened over there?
Yeah, no, but to be fair, I was feeling so good over it the entire time. And literally a second before I hit it, I could feel like my hands like start to feel like just a touch different. And I was like, just hit the freaking putt, and then hit it and made it. But a funny story about that putt actually is Ricky Fowler had a 15-footer on a very similar line for birdie. And he said if Matty hadn't chipped it in, I would have had you move your mark. But because his putt was basically going pretty close to my mark. He said he could have made it without hitting my mark, but it was still kind of in his way. And he was like, after Matty chipped in, he's like, there was no way, because he was already out of the tournament. He's like, there's no way I was going to make you move that mark and then move it back and then hit the putt to try to win. So shout out to Ricky Fowler. I told him I'd pay him the difference in what he finished versus making the putt as a joke. But
that's a classy move. I like seeing
very
that.
Classy. So you got to shout out Ricky Fowler on that.
I like that.
Very classy move from him, and helped me stay a little bit more calm on that putt.
Truly Unruly Lemonade contains the high alc fun of Truly Unruly with everyone's favorite lemonade. We love lemonade.
Love lemonade. Big fan of lemonade.
Just pure deliciousness lemonade let loose. 8% ABV. We're talking 100% delicious. They've got 4 supercharged lemonade flavors: bumpin' blue raz, OG original lemonade, punched up pineapple, and wild pink. I think wild pink is my favorite right now.
It's a great flavor. I mean, there's so many good ones. Me and Beef. This last week we were in Indianapolis for the Classic. We were at your hometown or your home course, Thornberry Creek.
Yeah, Thornbury Creek, Oneida.
At Oneida.
Wisconsin.
That seemed lovely for you to be back, Beef.
It was awesome.
Conquering hero.
Love
Everybody
hugs.
giving him a hug, saying "Welcome home."
Oh,
Yeah.
What's better than that?
God bless.
The only thing better than that is a truly unruly, and people were drinking them out there. Wisconsin people.
Yeah, we went
They
through
like
the
to
entire. We got through with the event. We were
Yeah.
reading off the winners, and everybody was already in the bar.
They're gone.
We're
like
like Putty Green. Everybody was at the bar. So-
Skins,
Wisconsin.
qualifiers close to the pin.
Don't
They're
care.
like, just send the money up to the bar.
Don't care.
Truly unruly up
That's
there.
so good. That is so good. This interview is brought to you by Truly Unruly Lemonade. It's the official hard seltzer of Foreplay. Level up your lemonade with Truly Unruly. Find Truly Unruly Lemonade at a store near you or visit www.trulyhardseltzer.com.
I want to talk about the aviators really quickly. So this kind of came up, I think it was last week, and you went through an incredibly interesting situation that you were in with your vision and seeing floaters, and you talked about how much sunglasses have helped. Explain a little bit about sort of how you found out you kind of had this condition, this issue, and how much this has helped you.
So it was actually the moment where I was like the most like kind of freaked out by my vision was Charles Schwab Challenge 18th green previous year. So a year ago, 2024. And I had missed a putt on 17, and on 18, it's like super bright. The greens are like, they look almost white because it's Sunday, or no, I guess it was Friday, but it was afternoon, hot, firm. It's just like the greens just start turning color. And so super bright, and I'm trying to read this putt, and I just floater after floater's going by, and I remember lining up my putt and looking out at the hole, and then looking back and just kind of almost having like a blackout moment where I just like couldn't focus, and I missed the putt, and I would have made the cut if I had made it. And I remember getting done and telling Dana like, I need to go see an eye doctor like right now. And lo and behold, I had 8 retinal holes in both eyes. So basically just like the best way to explain it is just, so your retina attached to your eye, because I have really bad vision to begin with, my eye's more vertical than it is an oval. And so my retina, as my eye gets more and more vertical, it's easier for it to detach. And so I basically had these gaps in my retina connecting to my eye, called retinal holes, and I had to go get those filled in pretty much ASAP. So I went to the eye doctor. They're like, yeah, you need to get this done soon, or else you're at really high risk for retinal detachment. Like, if you don't do this soon, your retina
sounds bad.
Your retina could
Retinal
detach.
detachment sounds bad.
You can lose vision pretty much.
Jesus.
If you don't get to it like fast. So I know people that have had retinal detachments and they've been fine, but if you're at high risk of losing vision if you get a retinal detachment. So I went in the next week. I wasn't in the US Open, or there was something. I went to the eye doctor, and then I think the next week I basically went and got the surgery done. They call it surgery. It's really just like laser work where they just heat your eyes, and it takes like 30 seconds to a minute per hole. So I was just sitting there basically like sweating my shirt out for 30 minutes as they're repairing kind of my holes. And it doesn't fix any of my floaters, but it basically just secured me that I'm going to be able to see. My central vision is going to be fine. But flash forward a couple weeks, and it's the Canadian Open. And I decided to try sunglasses for the first time, just because I was like, looking up like, all right, how can I reduce floaters? Do I need to change anything in my diet? Like, how will sunglasses maybe help? And I didn't want to wear sunglasses, but I got to the 4th hole, and I think I'd made a bogey, and I told my caddy, I'm like, screw it, give me the sunglasses. I just had my car sunglasses that I normally wear. They're not meant for golf. They're not meant for anything. And I was like, I want to wear them. I'm just going to try them in a tournament. And it was my first time ever wearing like sunglasses during pretty much a round. I might have done it as a kid once for fun, but that was my first time trying. I did it first round of the RBC Canadian. Lo and behold, I ended up losing to Bobby Mack by a shot at the Canadian Open, finished second. So I'm like, all right, I got to wear sunglasses now. So I've been wearing CT Pan's model of this U-Swing Mojing Company's brand. And I've been wearing CT's model for like a year. I'm actually work on changing the design a little bit. The owner obviously found out about the story and everything, so he wants me to make my own
Nice.
instead of me wearing CT.
Hell
'Cause
yeah.
I play in all these rounds. Like I can't remember who I was playing with. I think I was playing with Shane Lowry first 2 rounds last week at Memorial. He's like, "Your sunglasses say CT Pan on them?" I'm like, "Yeah, he's my favorite sponsor." You know. So yeah, he's got like his name on the side of my sunglasses. So CT Pan's been along for this ride.
That's
But yeah, that's why I
hilarious.
wear shades. It just it keeps things darker so the floaters aren't as noticeable. I was basically after the Charles Schwab, I was like, man, I guess I got to just deal with these floaters. But then once I wore the sunglasses, it just made everything darker. So on really bright days, the floaters are very easy to see. But when I put on the sunglasses and it's darker, it almost feels like, I think mentally, I think of it as like a windshield. Like if I see something on it, it's like, oh, it's just a dirty windshield. Like it's fine. Like whatever.
Yeah,
Uh,
yeah.
so yeah, I've
Interesting.
been rocking the shades, and I didn't want to wear like standard Oakleys that most golfers wear. I've never really liked the design of like kind of more athletic sunglasses, and I was like, let's just try to rock the CT Pan Aviators and see what happens. And so here we are.
It's a brand play, you know.
I guess.
mean, you're the only guy rocking aviators winning golf tournaments out there on tour.
Yep. Tiger's got red, Ricky's got orange, I've got aviators. I mean, this is where we're at.
You got to have something, man. You got to have something. So I got to ask you, you're 7th, I believe now. You're up to 7th in the Ryder Cup points for Team USA. Have you heard from Captain Keegan Bradley at all?
Yes, I have. Heard from him as well as pretty much all of the assistant captains. I think there's a lot of buzz going around, but yeah, I've just told him I'm going to keep doing my thing and try to earn one of those 6 spots. I mean, that's all we can do as players. Is just try to play our best, and hopefully I continue this hot run and continue to build more and more confidence. And I don't want to be on that team unless I feel like I'm going to beat Rory McIlroy in a singles match. And I think if I went on that team right now, I'd feel that way. So hopefully I continue the confidence and the good finishes and earn my way onto that squad.
Hell yeah. I mean, it'd be, and again, I mean, you're right there. As of now, I think it would be a complete no-brainer, and I'm sure it's hard to not try to think about that. You're out there just trying to play the best golf that you can, but it's wild to think somebody who wasn't in the Masters tournament is all of a sudden like, okay, this guy's 7th, and if the team were right now, he'd be on the team. So it's just been, man, it's been such an incredible run, and it's been very fun to watch. Last week they were doing the breakdown of your swing and the left foot coming off the ground and you just kind of wailing at it. And I was like, this guy is going after the golf ball, you know? And it's like, I know you've got the history of a business guy and analytical, and you've got your businesses on the side. So it's like, you sort of almost get this, thought of Ben Griffin out there of like analytically picking apart. And then when they did that breakdown, they were like, this guy is fucking sending it, man. He's like jumping off the ground, hitting the golf ball. And it just got me hyped up, and hearing you in the interviews sort of talking about like, no, I'm sort of at the point now after being in the arena with Scottie and coming up a little short where it was like, yeah, I mean, this is an awesome tournament, finishing second's fine, but it really does bleed through that you've got the mindset now of like, I'm obsessed with winning golf tournaments.
Yeah, it's weird. And like, I hate that I kind of almost came off a little bit cocky in that, when I answered it, but as golfer, like as top golfers, you have to think that way. You have to think you're going to beat the guy you're playing against. And I firmly thought I was going to win on Memorial on Sunday. I struggled on the greens a little bit early, and then a couple swings that I kind of wish I had back, but I felt super calm and felt good out there, like competing against someone like Scottie. And I think if you took me back a year or two, I mean, my feelings would definitely be a little bit different. And so I just feel like I'm at a point where I've just made such good progressions mentally, physically, and kind of just checked all the boxes to where I feel like I'm doing the right things to be an elite golfer. And so I'm just trying to continue to have that mindset, continue to do the right things physically, and try to turn what might seem like a heater right now into maybe something that's more reoccurring. So I just got to keep the same things going. And yeah, I mean, maybe make that Ryder Cup team. Might have to spend some time on Wall Street before the rounds, kind of analyzing some stuff, and then jump at the course ready to go with the aviators.
Get back in your element a little bit there, feel
maybe
comfortable.
maybe go into the Lord Abbott office, see what the bond markets are doing, check on the 10-year treasuries, and then head up to Bethpage.
Ask everybody how their kids are doing. You know, hey,
Yeah.
you still working out over here, there, Tim? That's great.
How are kids camps going? Yeah, good. Great.
You got to do the whole thing. How was it inside? You know, inside the ropes in the final group with Scottie. I mean, Scottie's on this insane run. Every player out there's been asked about him. We've heard all the different superlatives. We've seen all the stats and all that. You just described that. You know, you weren't intimidated. You were confident, but just in general, being in there with a guy who's playing as well as he has been for a couple years now, who's coming off, you know, winning yet another major championship. You're coming off having just taken him down at Colonial. Here you guys are. What was the environment like out there between you and Scottie?
Yeah, it was cool. It was good. You know, I'm fortunate. I've had some rounds where I've had some pretty big crowds, and I played with Scottie the final group on Saturday at the Players a couple years ago, and I remember, you know, feeling pretty intimidated. I was a rookie. It was my first time playing in front of like a huge group of fans, and so Memorial, I think it probably wasn't the most fans that I've ever had, but I honestly, I was so focused. I didn't even like care that much. I mean, I was pretty engaged with the fans, but by no means was I say I don't care, like don't care in terms of like an intimidation factor. And so being inside the ropes, I mean, you know, Scottie's going to hit pretty much every fairway. You know, he's going to hit every green. I mean, it's just the way his game is. But for me, I did a good job of just focusing on myself that round, trying to give myself as many looks as possible because, you know, even though he's pretty as consistent as it gets, he's still beatable. Guys have still beaten him plenty of times. And yeah, it's just, it was a really cool environment. We didn't talk to each other really at all, which I thought was great. Like me and Scottie are pretty good friends. Like we talked together, we talked to each other in the workout room before and in the PT, you know, room the night before. But like during the round, I think both of us were just like focused on business, which I thought was awesome. And I think you go back, there was a little, I think Bryson DeChambeau got asked a question like, how is the talks with Rory? He's like, yeah, he wouldn't talk to me or whatever. And like in the final group, like none of it, in every final group I've been in, it's not very chatty. You're focused on trying to win a golf tournament. And the moment you start kind of getting chatty and stuff, it just takes away from what you're trying to do. And so, yeah, it was all business. It was all a lot of good execution. I don't think either of us hit any like, actually, well, down the stretch, it was really cool. We both hit some really insane shots, but most of the round was just kind of solid back and forth, trading pars. Both of us missed a short putt early. Kind of happens, and then down the stretch, it got really fun, kind of going back and forth with shots on 15 and 16. Ultimately, I didn't take care of 17. Got a little crazy, a little out of my element, but it was a good learning experience. It was tons of fun to battle it out with him, and I think every golfer on tour would want to be in the same moment. Being in the final group on Sunday with Scottie, it's pretty cool.
Hell yeah! No, I'm with you. I remember. It reminds me of the Tiger when Tony Finau was asked about playing with Tiger in the final round in 2019, and he said he started chatting up Tiger on like the 7th hole and said, "So Tiger, how are your kids doing?" And Tiger just looked at him and said, "Good," and that was it, and didn't say another word to him the whole time. And I think that then the Bryson and Rory thing got blown out of proportion when it's basically the exact same thing. And Rory kind of answered it pretty well, being like, "Yeah, we're both trying to win the Masters. I'm not there to be his best buddy." So no, I like hearing that. I like that you guys are both not chatty, even though you're great friends, you're good buddies. I'm sure you're chit chatty on Monday, Tuesday in the trailer there. But when it comes to winning a golf tournament, it's all business. And even as a fan, that's what I want to hear. I want, guys are like, no, I'm here to win.
Yeah, walking off the first tee, we had a very brief conversation. And after that, I didn't say a single word to him until I shook his hand on 18, other than like maybe a good shot or nice birdie or something like that from time to time. But yeah, it's pretty much all business, and that's how it should be. I mean, you look at other sports like NBA players, like you shouldn't be chatting up with like another guy in NBA finals, like with a minute left. Like it's just not what sports are. You got to stay focused and locked in. And golf nowadays, it's so hard because you have to be so precise, and you're constantly thinking about your next shot, and then also the pace of play side. I mean, the tour's pretty honest about a lot of that stuff. And
yeah,
you're kind of, after you hit a shot, you're kind of already thinking about what the next shot's going to look like, just so you don't have to take super long. I took really long on a shot in the final round when I was like close to the tree. There's actually a hot mic where what people on social media thought I said kill myself. I said I'm glad I didn't kill myself because I was right behind a tree, but the mic didn't pick up. I'm glad. So everyone was like, oh my God, Ben's saying this. So I
That's tough.
apologize to anyone
Yep,
that thought I
that's tough.
said that out there. It was a tough moment for me on socials, but yeah, it was. It's hard because you can kind of get in some of those tough situations, and it's hard to play fast because you're trying to assess everything. You're trying to leave it in the right spot, but yeah, it's a lot of business out there. You're kind of already thinking about your next shot after you hit a shot, and there's not much time to chit chat in a final round.
On the just typical like golf etiquette and comments, like if Scottie, you know, on any normal par 4 pulls driver, hits the fairway, are you like, nice shot, or are you kind of like, is that too routine to like chime in?
It's too routine for him. Like it's too routine for any other player. Like, yeah, nice drive. But no, yeah. Golf etiquette changes with Scottie because he has expectations. Everyone else,
you got to reserve it. Yeah, you can't just be all day.
It's like Ben Griffin. It's a fairway. He goes, "Wow, great swing, man! I didn't know you could do that."
Ted Scott's like, "Oh, awesome shot, dude! That was amazing." That's funny.
Ted actually said Ted said some words to Scottie a lot during that final round. He was kind of like great execution, way to like not like he'd never say good shot, but just like great execution, great process. Like he'd say words like that, which I thought was pretty intriguing. He never really said good swing. He was like way to focus on the execution and stuff like that. I was like, all right. So they're locked into their own like little vocab compared to
you filed that away. You're like, huh?
Yeah. Put that in the back quadrant of the brain. Yeah.
All right, man. Well, I know we kept you a little long, but it's you're a great interview. One of the hottest players in the game right now. So being able to talk to you, especially U.S. Open week, coming off of a practice round at Oakmont, coming off a couple wins, coming off playing with Scottie and battling him at one of the toughest venues of the entire year, going eagle birdie down the stretch. There's just a lot to talk about, and like I said, you're a great interview. I like you're very thoughtful about stuff. You love kind of explaining stuff and talking through things, which in the world of golf, like we crave that stuff because it is like you just talked about. It's a little bit isolated. You're sort of trying to be, I know Kiz has talked about a lot. He's like, I'm trying to be boring, basically. He's like, when I'm playing golf, I'm trying to hit a fairway, hit a green, and try to make a putt, not get too high, not get too low. So sometimes we could be shut out. And so to just kind of hear all of it from you right now when you're playing really well is awesome. So we really do appreciate it.
Yeah, no problem. Thanks for having me on. And if anyone out there needs some help with their short-term rentals, let me know.
You're the guy. You are optimize those short-term rentals, baby.
Yeah. Triad's the name of the company.
Triad. All right.
Yeah.
I'm gonna remember that. I might utilize you guys. I got to optimize my spot in Pinehurst. Make sure.
Let's go.
A little dynamic pricing could be good. All right. Good luck next week at the U.S. Open. We'll be up there, so we'll try to see you and say hi. And worst case, we'll be following you. Everybody will be rooting you on. So keep up the good play.
Appreciate it. I'll keep the pedal down. Thanks, Riggs.